How's everybody doing? Outstanding. We've got some good stuff coming up for you. Steve will be on here today. So just come in with an open mind, whatever you think about Steve. If you had good aspects or negative aspects, just come with an open mind. And no matter what, he's got balls, he's got guts to tell his story and willing to answer on his charges. John, what do you think, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think everyone's missing the point. Everyone's like, oh, I don't know necessarily. I believe some of what he's saying. Okay, so that's the whole point. And I'm telling you right now, I'm verifying a lot of what he's saying. A lot of what he's saying about his time there is 100% true. He 100% went on undercover. He 100% reported corruption that was going on in the 109 that involved a protection racketeering, extortion scheme, that influence peddling scheme that went all the way up to the top. It went all the way up to the top. He was told to keep it administrative. They didn't want to go criminal charges. They bumbled the entire investigation. And in the 109 precinct currently, there's some corruption going on still with a protection racket influence peddling scheme still going on today. So I think when we look at it, we're looking at Steve like, let's character attack him. It's like, okay, but none of you guys are character attacked Ed Caban. None of you guys are character attacking Eric Adams. Why not? Is it because they're still active? So somehow there's something much better than everyone else. None of us are perfect. None of us, not one person. But it doesn't matter. The things that he's saying about what happened were true. Now, is there going to conjecture about what particularly happened to him? Of course. There's multiple sides to every story. There's Steve's side. There's the internal affairs investigator's side. There's the bar owner's side. There's the witness's side. There's a million different sides. Somewhere in there is the truth. But a lot of what he was saying around that, and I'd like to even pass this today. I'd like to have him on again one more time to just go through, detail his undercover work. Because I think when you hear the things that happened undercover, it's going to blow your mind. And you're not going to believe a lot of the things, but they're true. And I always said that about everything. If take any NYPD cop, I don't care if you go undercover or you don't go undercover. Take any NYPD cop, I don't care what you did in your career. Write a book and a story about your experiences in the NYPD, and it's going to get filed in the fiction section. People are going to say, that didn't happen. Right here, I believe a lot of it, but this part, that didn't happen. That wasn't what happened. And that's kind of what, we're seeing. So, on another note, not on Steve, our Instagram and our X accounts are just getting reported left and right for nonsense. We're getting reported for copyrighted information. That's anytime we reshare anything from the NYPD or take and use any photos from an official NYPD account, which is a government account, which is public information. So we're fully entitled to it. But people keep sending in that we're copywriting by resharing the stuff from the NYPD. The user name that's coming in is Kaz Daughtry as the person that's reporting it. And it's kazdaughtry@outlook.com is the email address that keeps reporting that. I don't believe that that's Kaz Daughtry. I think it's someone who has Kaz Daughtry's dingling in his mouth. He says it's not him. But I just think at some point some of our accounts are going to get taken down if it just keeps getting reported at this level. And the other thing I just want to say is we do have a Rumble account. So if you guys could just go over there, it's at The Finest Unfiltered. If you guys could go over there and follow, for those of you that are on YouTube and X, in case we do get taken down anywhere, Rumble will hold strong. We're also going to have a Patreon account come up. Just because it's the censorship is ridiculous. Censorship's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, just that's all I got for right now.
The censorship, is on another level when it comes to this podcast. There was extreme amount of effort to try to suppress our First Amendment speech. This has been going on for about 2 years right now, since the inception of this podcast. John and I have been in opposition. We've been embattled by the union. We've been embattled by John Schell, Kaz Daughtry, paid goons from the police department. And what do we hear? We heard, no way. There's no way this is happening, right? No one wants to believe that the police department is capable of it. And I think it's reflective of the quote that we read yesterday, John, because you had brought it up, and then we actually read that quote, which I think is awesome, where people actually see themselves when you knock the system. And we're not knocking people individually. We're knocking people that are utilizing the system and weaponizing the system because they see as a reflection of themselves negatively. And we're all part of the system. Some of us were active. Some of us are active right now. Some of us are retired. Some of us are family members of police, law enforcement. So in some ways, we're all part of that system. And it doesn't have to be a reflection of ourselves in a negative light or a positive light, but it just has to be a proper assessment. So let's look at this picture here right now, right? Just to show you how much effort has been done to try to suppress this podcast. In reality, what are we doing? We're giving our opinion. I mean, I even saw a comment. I said to John, you got to read this. It was hysterical. Someone's giving us credit for pointing out corruption case when it comes to a 14-year-old girl being sexualized from an Explorer program, but at the same time, they're calling us scumbags. So, I mean, I laughed. I thought it was hilarious, but we're getting extreme amount of opposition just for giving our opinion, for giving our perspective. So you have to say the same thing. Why are people so angry about opinions? Because they see themselves, because they don't want to hear it, because it attacks their egos, or is it all of the above, including that there is actual corruption going on with this probe and it's going to surface? So you have to ask yourself and make that assessment. I think it's all of the above. So check it out here. Here's a photo from Instagram showing that no longer, or at least it's suspended, that we can't collaborate right now and enhance our Instagram handles, which affects the podcast. But that's okay. We're going to continue on. We're not going to stop us. But there is an information war. They're trying to censor this podcast. They're trying to suppress our speech. They're trying to suppress our opinions, because this is not a copyright at all. But that's okay. We're going to continue through it. We've been in battle for 2 years. We're not going to stop. We're not going to allow it to stop this podcast. The show will go on. I can tell you what, John Shell, Kaz Daughtry, Bootlicker News, they'll be gone once this administration goes, and we will still be here. And our friends and listeners to the podcast, you'll still be here too. John, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so again, like I said, it wasn't just this. I'm getting numerous, so it's not just this photo that you see. It's real grainy in there, but that was a photo of John Shell. He had like a face like he was constipated while he was at a table with Kaz Daughtry. So that was a meme that we put out. But then I had shared the photo as well, and it was just like an undoctored photo right from the NYPD's account. So that's public information. There's no copyright to it. They're an official government account. You're allowed to share that by all means, but it's coming in. So I've gotten numerous violations to my account just this morning, today, on numerous different posts I did. So this is just one, but this is how it comes in. They all have the same thing. And in full disclosure, I did reach out to Oren Levy, Viral News or Leroy Press, and I told him to cut the shit. He says it's not him. I find it hard to believe, but okay, it's not you. Okay, I hope it's not you, because you have a much bigger account than we do, but we know a lot more people than you, so we could mass report at a much higher rate than you. So I wouldn't want to play that game. I don't care if I feel that you did that. We will play that game. You haven't got one report from us, so I suggest it stops today, because it's absolutely childish. So, and anyway, I've submitted I'm in the process of submitting the reviews from Instagram and X and all the other places. I'm in the process of doing that, but the review process sucks, and it takes a very long time, and it actually doesn't work well. So I've submitted them a bunch already that haven't went through, so I have to resubmit all of them. So like I said, I think there's a big possibility we could get taken down on a couple of our Instagram accounts, possibly even get taken down on YouTube. So then if you guys are listening to us on X or YouTube, I highly suggest you go over to our Rumble at the Finest Unfiltered, because if we do get taken down everywhere, we're not going to have really a way to tell you how to do that, how to follow us or anything else, other than if you go over to our Rumble at the Finest Unfiltered. So if you see that was how it comes up. And then they all come up like this. email the reporter. I could email the reporter. The reporter's name, Kaz Daughtry. On one of them, it's misspelled, the name. So I think it's Kaz Daughtry? No, I don't. It gives you the report number. And then it says kaz.daughtry@outlook.com is the email that's supposedly reporting us. Again, I don't believe it's Kaz Daughtry. I believe it's someone that has his dingling in his mouth that has a very large account on Instagram and on Twitter. So, I mean, I wouldn't throw stones from a glass house. It's completely stupid. We're not infringing on anybody's copyright. It's absolutely joke. We're using our First Amendment. We're using our First Amendment right to speak out about what we see that's wrong. Nighthawk says it here. Jimmy Lee is the restaurant owner that was paying off Stephen Lee, right? He was taking pictures with the police commissioner Bratton, laughing and shaking hands while he's under investigation. It's unbelievable, but it was true. Exactly. And that's our whole point in the whole thing is like nobody's really honing in. Nobody's honing in on what Steve is saying is that, hey, guess what? This whole protection racket scheme, this has been going on for a very long time. It's been happening in multiple precincts. It's been going all the way up to the upper echelon of the NYPD, all the way through the elected officials and the politically appointed, and it's still going on today.
VSS Ventura's $5 to the podcast. Thank you. Good morning. If people are attacking you this much, then they are afraid of you. It's the same losers who cry about tyranny and yet are the biggest tyrants. Outstanding. That is a great quote. That's a great comment. You're absolutely right. They're attacking us because our opinions hold a lot of water and they're reflective of what's going on with this administration. So let's go back to talking about Stephen Lee. What a lot of stuff that was going on with Stephen Lee, especially when you talk about Jimmy Lee. It's very reflective and it mirrors what's going on right now. And what we see right now is actually even far more egregious. It's ironic that the perpetrator, the adversary, that was focused around this, his name was Jimmy, which is similar to what's going on right now with Jimmy Rodriguez at Consafritos, where all the high prolific politicians and the upper echelon of the police department associate with Jimmy, which is criminal association, which violates the policy of the NYPD, the same policy that got Sal Greco wrongfully terminated, the same policy that people are knocking Stephen Lee, saying that he associates with criminals. While Jimmy Caban, another Jimmy, is also being probed for having a racketeering scheme, shaking down bars, who's the brother to the former police commissioner Ed Caban, and yet Stephen Lee is getting attacked. We hear the grumblings, and people have been in contact with John and myself saying, oh, he was associated with known criminals. And John was pretty expressive, and I said, I can't agree with you more. We should no longer hear about that policy, criminal association. How can the leadership be out there associated with known criminals, known felons that are pretty high prolific, that everyone actually knows? And yet we're going to knock Stephen Lee for the same thing, who is part of the rank and file. If anybody should set the example, it's the leadership. The same people that actually administer the policies should carry them out themselves. They should set the example. They should set the tone for the police department and the entire administration. That's why I say give Stephen Lee a chance. Whatever your assessment of Stephen Lee is, the bottom line is we have to admit there are numerous problems going on internally with the police department. I think pretty much externally, most of us, the overwhelming majority of law enforcement, have the skin and have the fortitude to handle what goes on externally when it comes to adversaries, perpetrators, politicians, legislation. We're all pretty apt at dealing with that. But when it comes to the internal pressures of the NYPD, it really knocks your mental health. And I have to give Stephen Lee credit. He's acknowledged the effects of the internal pressures of the NYPD and how it's affected his mental health. It still affects his mental health right now. Even with that, he's shown the guts to tell his story, and he's willing to answer questions, the charges that he faced, the administrative charges from the NYPD. So that shows guts. And you know what? Maybe if sometimes, let me just say this. Some people are saying to me, oh, Stephen Lee was a piece of garbage. So do the ends justify the means? Not at all. Because the same applies when you're a police officer and you work in the streets. There may be someone that you're targeting or investigating who may be a part of a robbery scheme. And we can't get that particular perpetrator. Are we going to plant a firearm, an illegal firearm, because that person's a piece of garbage? No. We still have to do it the proper way. So give Stephen the opportunity, hear him out, and make your assessment and hear about his story. And if you want to knock his character, you still have to give him credit for willing to speak. And that's not an easy thing to do and tell your story, knowing that people will have a negative aspect to it. Some people will be positive, but knowing that people are going to shit on you, it takes a lot of guts. John, what are your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, no, listen, I think Steve's brave. I think anybody that tells their story is brave. I don't care. Even just doing this podcast, like you come on the podcast, even if it's like a real vanilla podcast, like, oh, I'm just going to tell my experience. Because you know what's going to happen. People that you worked with are going to attack you. People that are going to attack you. They're going to make up stories about you. They're going to, oh, yeah, he wasn't a great cop. He wasn't this. And you probably, person that comes on, he was probably a better cop than they were. I love it when people attack my career. I love it. Because I'm like, I ran circles around all of you in the street. I'm like, so I love it. And I'm like, and now all of a sudden you guys are cops. You're big bad cops because you played last man standing at the bar, or like you couldn't move ahead, or you didn't take a promotional exam, or you didn't look to do different details and things of that nature. So I think it's so funny. So I think anyone that tells their story or goes out in the public eye, it's I think you gotta give that person a little kudos. And to sit there and just completely attack people, it just shows who you are. Like, we have trolls all day long. I have the same troll that comes on my stuff. Everything I post, he says the same thing. Aren't you retired? Why do you care? He's a retired loser who handed in a fake vaccine card. And he's like so upset that I said, where's the integrity? If there was any integrity, they would do an audit. And when we were talking about the girl who handed in the fake vaccine card, it boggles my mind how someone who told the truth, like Moreland Bethel, doesn't have a job, and someone who lied is being rewarded by the mayor of New York City and cheered on by him and Ed Caban. It boggles my mind. And it boggles my mind that everyone, like the public eye, is like cheering her on, and they completely ignore Moreland Bethel. And many like him. So it boggles my mind. So I said, if there's no integrity in the city, and then this person like snapped in their head, and every day they ask me the same question: aren't you retired? Why do you care? Aren't you retired? Why do you care? And the same thing, the job always wins. The job always wins. Now, this person was a loser, terrible cop. I know exactly who it is. They hide behind a fake name, but I know exactly who it is. Terrible cop, complete loser, 0 arrests. Nobody liked him, was a Debbie Downer, horrible person. And they continue to be a horrible person. But yet I'm supposed to, like, I not that I'm supposed to, but like, people are afraid of people like that saying things about you online. Like, to me, I can care less. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't lose sleep over it. I don't think about it. It doesn't. Once in a blue moon, I'll acknowledge them when I want to give myself a good laugh. I'll make a comment. But other than that, I don't really acknowledge these people. They're nobody. And I applaud Stephen Lee for telling his story. Like I said, however you feel about his charges, there's a lot of charges that I'm not okay with. And I've spoken with Steve about it, and I don't support it. I don't care what the reasoning is. But at the same time, I'm telling you right now, most of what he said, as it relates to the corruption, is true. A lot of it. Now, does it matter if he was, just let's say he was a dirty cop? Does it matter? I don't think it does. I don't think it matters at all. The bottom line is this: there's corruption that happened in the NYPD, that there was an investigation done, and it's still happening today. The same exact thing involving the same exact players and some new ones.
Rafael Martinez, thank you so much, brother. He says, good morning, John and Eric. I will follow you guys anywhere. You have my support. God bless you both. Hand salute. I salute you, brother. You've been a great friend and listen to the podcast. You've been a great friend. You're always dipping your hand in your pocket. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And I want to speak on what you're just saying now. When we first started to get attacked on this podcast, including a fake moniker known as All Cops Are Woke, John and I were very tolerant of it. We got pretty thick skin. I tell you what, I got really thick skin. I don't let anything bother me. But we all have limits and boundaries. And when this fake moniker, All Cops Are Woke, and I believe it's more than one person. Internal Affairs at this point has been reluctant to release the identity to John and myself. We said 100% we were confident that this was an active member of the service based on the characteristics, the traits, the verbiage, the police language that they were using. Behind this fake moniker, they actually contacted my personal phone with threats, started calling me at 3 a.m, about 3 days in a row. And it included threats to John and myself, our kids. I mean, some serious, vile, disgusting threats. Pictures of duct tape, pictures of zip ties, pictures of someone holding kids, and not our kids, but referencing to our kids. So someone else's kids were also targeted, saying, oh, I hope they have a long, healthy life, and pointing a map from Nebraska to Florida, where supposedly some of these cops were championing for All Cops Are Woke. Other cops were saying, oh, this is a 16-year-old girl. And so real sick, unhinged stuff. And John and I both were adamant and said, this is coming from a cop. And you know what? I spoke to a lot of cops. They said, you guys are out of your mind. There's no way this is coming from a cop. They didn't want to believe it because they see themselves part of the system. They see themselves, well, I would never do that. And they don't want to believe that there's people in the police department that wear the same uniform, that follow the same policy, follow the same rules, are capable of that. But guess what? You have to realize there are people in the job that are capable of that. And sure enough, Internal Affairs admitted to us it is, in fact, a member of the service. I believe it's more than one member of the service. We do not know where this investigation is going. I believe there's a lot of nepotism involved. I believe that they're intentionally protecting the upper echelon. We believe that the investigator himself was handpicked. The investigator himself worked in the same precinct at the same time with Kaz Daughtry and other members of the upper echelon of the police department. So the whole entire investigation is botched. And what were we told? I said, how do we I'm sorry, let me even backtrack and just say this. We were told by the investigator of Internal Affairs that you and John should be comfortable at this point. We've identified who the person is, and they no longer will, right? They no longer work with the police department. They resigned. So wait a minute. So you tell me there's some unhinged cop out there that knows where John lives, knows where I live, where he thinks he knows where I live, right? Because I'm out on the road. But he has my Florida address. And this particular cop, we have no idea who it is, or cops, or several, wants to kill us. We don't know his identity. He can't get his hand on a gun and blow the back of our brains out right now. Are you out of your mind? So they're still reluctant to give us. And you know what? We're not going to be afraid. We're not going to be back down. I got a tattoo on my rib that says death before dishonor. I refuse to back down. I will protect my family, and so will John. But we will be aware. We will be aware. We're not going to let our guard down. But this is coming from the New York City Police Department. This was an active member of the service, or several. And John Shell and Kaz Daughtry, the upper echelon of the police department, are behind this, and they know exactly who's doing it. So they're unhinged too. So stop pretending that the police department is not capable of this. And Stephen Lee was a part of the same system, and he was treated in the same manner. So give him the respect. Did he make mistakes with these charges? Absolutely. But we all do. It's how we move forward in life that makes us better. You know, just want to comment real quick when you go on your tweet here. Drone Rage, I don't know if you know, Drone Rage, you're a great friend to the podcast. You're always here. We really appreciate it. I don't know if you actually know Stephen Lee personally. I know you were making some comments yesterday about Stephen Lee. It's obvious you have a real disdain for Stephen Lee. Drone Rage says, holy shit, you guys sound like defense attorneys. We're not defense attorneys, but we are we're defending, saying, give him the opportunity just to listen, let him explain the story, and then you make your assessment. But we're very quick when it comes to fellow law enforcement to right away attack everyone's character. It's ironic because if Stephen Lee was the first deputy commissioner or police commissioner, he'd probably be getting an award for Man of the Year. There's no difference between Stephen Lee and Ed Caban. when it comes to those, but he doesn't have any benefit to fraternal organizations. He can't benefit people in any way and get them promoted. So Stephen Lee is completely thrown to the side. But we do give a complete different assessment when it comes to rank on this job, especially Ed Caban, first deputy commissioner, those type of ranks. So give you a fair assessment, strip that away, and be honest. John.
Yeah, Drone Ranger says Stephen Lee associated and gave PBA cards to drug dealers, listed gang members with long rap sheets. Stephen Lee was a perp who did perpy shit with perpy people. So I just think you could just take that name out. You could put Ed Caban, you could put Jeffrey Madry, you could put Kaz Daughtry, you could put Tony Kinsella, you could put Tariq Shepard. You could replace that name with literally everyone who's ever held the rank of police commissioner or any appointed mayoral appointed position in the NYPD. You could replace Stephen Lee. So what's your point? What's your point? I'm going to tell you right now. I grew up in Bensonhurst and Staten Island. I hung out in the park every day. Am I a perp because of that? No. Am I a perp because I got arrested twice? No. I'm not. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. Twice. If I actually went through my 2 arrests, I mean, I would embarrass the cops that arrested me. But that's I'm not even going to go through them. But am I a perp because of that? Because I hung out in the street and I was like to play basketball and I hung out in the park and that's where all the kids played basketball and I like to play handball and I hung out in the handball courts. Like, am I a perp because of that? That's where the girls hung out. No. I'm not a perp because of that. Is Steve a perp because he grew up in New York City and he knew people that winded up going a different path? No. Did Steve do shit on the job? He says he didn't. He says he didn't. And by all means, the Internal Affairs Bureau is saying he didn't because guess what? What'd they do? They put him undercover. They allowed him to keep a gun in the shield. So they're the ones saying he's not a perp and they used him to go fight corruption and they bumbled the entire investigation. So the attack on Stephen Lee is fine. You could say whatever you like about it. But I mean, I would like to hear your opinion about how the Internal Affairs Bureau did at uncovering corruption, how they did at fighting corruption. And I would like to know why the corruption that Stephen Lee alleged, not even that Stephen Lee alleged, that Stephen Lee proved is still going on today. And why is Bratton not a perp? He took pictures, gave PBA cards while the guy was under investigation and paying cops thousands and thousands of dollars a month to not bother any of his businesses. The police commissioner, Bratton, right, who's supposed to be, right, he's supposed to be, he's the old white guy from Boston, right? Like, no, he was taking pictures with this dude too while he was paying cops off and all this other thing. The guy's sending out his photo everywhere. Is Bill Bratton a perp? If Stephen Lee is a perp, everybody's a perp. So I'm not being a defense attorney for nobody. I'm just looking at the big picture. The big picture here is there's corruption going on in New York City, in the New York City Police Department, and the Internal Affairs Bureau bumbled it. The Internal Affairs Bureau continues till today to not report and fight corruption. Well, maybe they report it, but they don't fight it. And, someone asked me yesterday, what's going on today? What's going on today? The same exact thing that was going on when Stephen Lee was undercover. The same exact thing that happened to me and Eric, that our case isn't being investigated. It's being disproven. It's being dumbed down. It's like, all right, well, how could we make ourselves look good and walk through the things that they said and submitted irrefutable evidence to us, right? Again, our children's lives were threatened by an active member of the NYPD who holds rank, and the NYPD is covering up his name and won't tell us who it is. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to have more angst about Stephen Lee and what Stephen Lee did than about this job and what they're doing to not only not fight corruption, to help it flourish. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. So before Stephen Lee comes on, Viral News put this out this morning. I guess probably prior to reporting our accounts. Oh, I don't know that he did. Excuse me. Maybe it was Gene Lewis, but he put out NYPD officers were denied entry into a migrant shelter in Times Square after responding to a 911 emergency call for help from the location. They were only allowed in after a supervisor arrived to escort them, leaving them waiting outside for 7 minutes. Officers, and he goes on. Now, I can't show the video because obviously he'll report me for copyright, which, we continuously get reported for copyright for someone who's very familiar with the process. Wonder if it's him. So I just think that's an absolute disgrace. So I wrote in regards to it, inept and emasculated is the best way to describe the NYPD under New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Any staff interfering with a 911 response should be arrested for obstructing governmental administration 19505. Maybe if this administration focused just a little less on getting their crumbs. And then after I posted that, we started getting all of the copyrights. And Tabitha, the NYPD, does not own their copyright. It's a public account. It's public information. You are allowed to reshare and repost what they put out there. That is public information. Nobody owns that. They are not a personal or corporate entity. They are a official government account. You're allowed to repost those things. So cops get a 911 call to a migrant shelter, and the security tells them, you can't go in. What do you think, Eric?
It's interesting, right? Because I said we could shut down these robbery patterns that is going on right now in 42nd Street with the Little Devils, which are illegal juveniles stemming from this migrant crisis, right? You and I both said we could shut this robbery pattern down a week. Let's take the gun detection scanners from transit and put it in the migrant shelters, which are the hotels. So obviously that's not going to work. We can't put these gun detection scanners there right now, right? So that's another hurdle. But why? Why? What's behind these private contracts that they don't want to shut down actual crime? This is absolutely ridiculous. So anyone that thinks Eric Adams is championing for the city, he's doing it for you, and that he's actually in opposition to open borders and sanctuary cities, and that's why he's under political persecution, wake up. Wake up. We can shut down these crimes immediately. Put that gun detection scanner in these hotels. This is a huge problem. We have to start keeping our eyes open and seeing the truth. And that's the truth right there.
Yeah. So Stephen Lee's coming on at 0905. He's just dropping his kid off. He's actually in the chat, but he'll be on. So that's it. But yeah, so viral news is like he's reaching out to Elon Musk and everyone else for help in regards to the situation. So we have cops going to a 911 call that are being told they can't go in. I see the NYPD, the rank and file, as completely emasculated and inept. And am I blaming the individuals who are responding to the thing? No, I'm blaming the leadership. I'm saying this is what they're told to do. Someone's saying, oh, Eric Adams agreed to that. That was an agreement that Eric Adams had. Well, Eric Adams can't tell you that you need permission from a private security guard to not follow the emergency exception and not follow the emergency rule. Someone's calling 911 for help. Someone could possibly be dying, getting murdered. Your valuable seconds could take away from that person continuing to be able to breathe. So a security guard hampering you at the door is violating OGA 19505 and should be arrested for it. Their orders should be disregarded. They cannot physically stop a police officer from going into a location. If they do, that would be called assaulting a police officer. If at the time you go to effect an arrest, that would be called resisting arrest. So going forward, while we're in Manhattan North, instead of focusing on acetone, buying acetone, taking $10 from your employees and scraping tinted windows off of their car, I think what you should do, if I was the commanding officer, is anytime there's a call at a migrant shelter, you have a response team go and you ensure that the people who are responding to handle that job are not hampered in any way by the security guards. And if they are, you lock every single one of them up, including the manager. And I don't care what Eric Adams or any of his cronies have to say. So if you sit here and use a independent, somewhat supposedly independent account, who more than likely potentially is mass reporting our accounts for the NYPD because they're inept and they're clumsy and they're corrupt and they don't want anyone to know about it, I think that you should realize what the hell's happening with the NYPD at this point. They're trying perception management, like Marlon Bethel says. They're using this account. He's reaching out to Elon Musk and Ashley Sinclair and everybody else. Oh, help. The NYPD could use your help. No, he doesn't want the NYPD to get help. He wants his tweet to get shared numerous millions of times so that he gets paid for every single click that it happens. That's what he wants. He's doing exactly what he accuses myself and Eric of. He says, we're trying to get clicks. I'm not trying to get clicks. If I was trying to get clicks, I would just write back the blue, strength and honor. John Shell's doing a great job. I love Kaz Daughtry. I love the NYPD, the oath. They risk their lives. Look at Kaz Daughtry on Roosevelt Avenue doing absolutely nothing for the last 3 years. Look at this. Look how great PPO Kaz Daughtry is. Look how great he is. And so they're using this account to go out online to spread information like, oh, look, we're handcuffed. No, you handcuffed yourself. You handcuff yourself. You handcuff yourself when you align yourself with a progressive anti-cop mayor who supported defund the police like Eric Adams. You handcuff yourself when you support a tyrant like Eric Adams. By the way, corrupt tyrant, the first indicted New York City mayor in history. And now we're sitting here and saying, oh, look, we can't go into this migrant shelter. Oh, we can't go on that college campus and help you. I'm sorry. We have to wait for the supervisor of the security guards. Are you kidding me? Is this a joke? Like, John, you're watching this. Kaz, you're watching this. Is this a serious joke that you're having this independent reporter? I hope this is misinformation that he's spewing. I hope it is, because if it's not, you should step down immediately. I hope it's misinformation that the cops, when they respond to a 911 call, they have to wait for a private security company that has a contract, who's friendly with your mayor's cronies, who were just in the upper echelon of New York City, of the appointed management in New York City. I would hope that they're not the ones in control in New York City. I would hope it's the New York City Police Department.
Yeah, I would hope that this is not misinformation, but listen, bottom line is this is the information that we've seen. This is coming from an independent journalist. So if this information is true, this is a hurdle that's been created, and this particular administration is not stopping it. That's why I say you have to ask yourself why. Why are they never putting a stop to it? We could stop this robbery pattern within less than a week. Easy. We used to set up choking points. I used to tell my cops all the time, set up choking points. You want to know where the perpetrators are going to and where they're coming from. It's very easy. We know exactly where they're coming from. They have to stay in these migrant shelters, which is the Roosevelt Hotel. And the bottom line is that's a private entity. And these are illegal military-aged and juvenile males. These are perpetrators right now. They're going into a private business. If they want to go into that private location for shelter while they're also being provided with credit cards and money and funding and a place to live and potential jobs and learning the American life, because that's the mission of Tren de Aragua, is adaptability, is adapting to the American life so that they can actually make money and fund this organization. They can put an easy stop to it, or at least curb it by putting gun detection scanners or wanding people that are going inside. You want to stay here? First of all, you didn't even cross the border legally. You want to stay in this hotel? You have to get wanded. You have to go through a gun detection scanner. That would curb a lot of potential weapons that are going into these hotels right now, and that would stop some of these robberies right now as we speak. But they don't want to stop it. Mayor Eric Adams, constantly do I hear from cops, oh, he gave us a raise, he's doing great. Is he doing great? He's doing great for you, or is he doing great for the city? Do you think he's intentionally, specifically doing it for you, or it just has to be incidental that you're getting overtime because it's a diminished police department under this administration? You have to start waking up, and you have to start looking at things and look at the big picture and not just being self-serving and looking at it for yourself. Eric Adams said it himself. The key to prosperity is public safety. Is this prosperity and is this public safety? And the answer is no, absolutely not.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So Stephen Lee's with us from his car. We're going to bring him up here. Welcome to the stage, Stephen Lee. What's going on, brother?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How you doing?
Yeah, hanging in, bro. We're being accused of being defense attorneys for you. So
I saw that.
Yeah. So I'm glad you wanted to come on today. We'll walk through the charges. Anything you have to say since we did the interview like to anyone. There was a lot of comments made. I don't know if you've seen all of them. Anything you want to say before we start to clear the air with?
Good morning, Steve. By the way, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's the same trolls, that's been attacking me. I mean, in a way, I don't really care what they're saying, all right? Because at the end of the day, I can sleep at night. I know what I've done, but in a way, it does bother me. It's one of the demons that push me to being suicidal. It's all the people gaslighting and attacking me, and it's like the whole time I kept on thinking is I did the right thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I did what a man should have done. Like, I stood up for what was right. I know how the investigation started. It was because somebody wanted to put fake rape charges on somebody, and as a man, I think that's wrong. Like, if somebody wants, if I know Eric from a hole in the wall, right? So if somebody came up to me like, "Yo, let's put fucking fake rape charges on the guy, Eric, fuck that guy," right? I would be like, "Nah, I'm not down with that." And then the guy kept on hounding me for like a week straight to do it. I'll be like, "Yo, Eric, heads up, dude over there, man, he wants to put fake rape charges on you." Like, I would give him the heads up, because as a man, I would know how I feel especially with a family, right? Like, we already have a bad stigma at work, where it's like, "Oh, you're working overtime? Are you really working?" Or whatever. You're out there with somebody else. Somebody, like, there's a bad stigma, right? So even if Eric, gets wrongly accused and he's found innocent and stuff like that, there's always that bad stigma that lingers afterwards with the family and stuff. People don't see that. People don't see that. Look, people think, "Oh, okay, it's only Stephen Lee." No, this affect my family. This affect my daughter. My daughter is antisocial now. Ever since she got EDP and stuff like that, she's antisocial. She never finished high school. I had to homeschool. I had to pull her out of school because after that, the teachers and they were still harassing her and stuff. And I had to pull her out of school. I had to homeschool her, and she still never finished high school. She's so introverted. My wife, she was affected because she keeps on barricading the doors every time I leave the house. Because the day I got arrested, they came to my house and told my wife that I might have killed myself, that they couldn't find me. I didn't show up for work. They don't know where I am and stuff like that. And the whole time I was with freaking IAB at the precinct. And they came to my house and told my wife that I might have killed myself and stuff. So my wife was like, like, that's not right. He didn't show any signs of that. So it doesn't just affect me, it affects my whole family. So especially now, like, they drain me financially. My wife has to go out and work now. They drain me financially. My injury, prohibits me from working and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening in the background where, it doesn't just affect me. It affects my whole family. I used to be really close with my brother and his family and stuff, and they didn't want me to come around because they were scared that I might bring that kind of drama or that kind of incidents to their house. They didn't want the cops coming to their house and fucking with them. So I understood that, and I respected that, and I stood away from their house for a very long time. So there's a lot of stuff that people don't see in the background. They just think, "Oh, he's a rat because he told on other cops." You think I told on cops that were just getting free coffee and stuff? No. They were getting paid off. They were getting money. They were helping human traffickers. They were helping people getting off of rape. People that are raping girls and stuff. They themselves were fucking raping girls. They were sitting in the same room with gangsters that are sniffing cocaine and stuff like that. I'm not talking about smoking marijuana, your buddy smoking marijuana, next to you while you're standing there. Yeah, it's wrong. Marijuana is still illegally federally, but it's marijuana. It's like smoking a cigarette, right? You're in New York City. You're not going to avoid that. But sniffing cocaine and shit like that in the fucking room, that's crazy. They were freaking helping drug dealers that were wholesalers. They're not on the corner nickel and diamond drug dealers. They were wholesalers. And they were crystal meth. It was crystal meth, ketamine, cocaine. It's not like, small drugs, light drugs. They were doing all this stuff, and they were protecting all this stuff. Yeah, there were some cops that got in trouble I tried to get them indemnified, right? They were like my old conditions team. We had went to one of the karaoke's, right? And it was Jimmy's Karaoke on 147th Street in Northern Boulevard. We were doing an inspection. This inspection was planned, right? Because we gave Sungz the heads up to see if he would like go back and tell Jimmy, right? To confirm that they were like, in bed with each other. In bed meaning like they were communicating and like, helping each other out, right? So we gave him the heads up. He did go back and tell Jimmy that, right? So we went back. We went to do the check. The place was supposed to be empty, right? There's supposed to be no customers. We go there. We do the check. There was like 2 rooms that had customers. My cops did their job. They went in. They found ketamine, whole bunch of jars. They got the dealer and everybody. They got the customers. They got the dealer. They had them in handcuffs. They go, Sarge, come here. I go over there. I'm like, what do you got? They got people in handcuffs. I'm like, oh shit, this is not supposed to happen, right? So I call IAB up. I'm like, yo, my cops found stuff, people in handcuffs and stuff like that. What do you want me to do? They go, call, the lieutenant, see what he wants to do, right? Fine. I call Lieutenant Sung up. Lieutenant Sung doesn't pick up. He had a day tour the next day, so he didn't pick up. I then get a call back from the detective, right? Detective Yam. He calls me back. He goes, yo, where you at? I'm like, I'm at 147 Northern doing the check. Why? What's up? He's like, yeah, man. You at Jimmy's place, whatever? I was like, yeah. He was like, you got people in handcuffs and stuff? I got, yeah, how you know? He's like, oh, Jimmy called me, whatever. He was like, I don't know. I was like, what do you think I should do? He's like, I don't think you should do that, man. I think Lieutenant would be pissed because that's one of his spots. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's one of his spots. He was like, he goes there. He hangs out there. I think you should let them go. Like, whatever. So this is a detective, right? I'm a sergeant. I'm not going to listen to a detective. I call IAB back. I'm like, look, this is what the detective said. They say, yeah, let him go. And maybe they'll gain favor with, Lieutenant Sung, right? Get you closer with him. Because this is early in the investigation. So I'm like, all right, but listen, these are good cops, right? These are my cops. They're good cops. They're going to let them go because I ordered them to let them go, right? Now, they're doing their job. Are they identified, right? They're like, yeah, we're telling you, IAB is telling you, let them go. They're identified. Don't worry. So I go up to them and I go, look, let them go. They get pissed off. They're like, what the fuck is going on? We can't even do our job. Why even tell us to do an inspection if we can't do our job, blah, blah. And they're within all their rights to be pissed off. They storm out, pissed off. And they're like, let me guess, a certain white shirt? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, fuck this, blah, blah, blah. So we go to the next spot, right? They end up getting GO'd for it. When the whole operation was over, they end up getting GO'd for it. I told them, look, just tell them the truth. You're identified, blah, blah. The delegate tells them to lie about it. And so they get in trouble for it, for lying at the GO. Yes, should they have never been GO'd in the first place? I agree. Some my handler at the time, Lieutenant Seeger, he's like, yo, they shouldn't even have been GO'd in the first place, right? But they needed low-hanging fruit. They needed to sacrifice some people that weren't hooked up with the administration, right? They weren't hooked up with the one that were running the show. So they got the conditions people and all that other stuff. And then they go, yeah, we punched a bunch of people, isolated incident, show's over, nothing to see here, goodbye. All right. I was pissed off about it too.
Stephen, I just want to say, before you go into that, I just want to say what's interesting, what you just said. It's so interesting because John and I spoke about that yesterday on the episode where we spoke about this corrupt savage from the 7-5 precinct that is sexualizing a 14-year-old girl and sexting with an undercover internal affairs cop. Because you said exactly what John and I were saying was that cop got a proper investigation and it was uncovered because he's not tied to nepotism. And if he had the right ties, that investigation would have played out. So I don't know if you had watched that portion of the episode, but what you just said mirrors exactly what we said yesterday, Steve.
That if he was hooked up, he would have been let go. I could 1000% say that because remember a while back, was it Kelly's son or something like that? One of the commissioner's son. He was being investigated for rape. Remember? And he got let go. He got let go like twice or something like that. So that shows you right there that it happens. We're not just talking out of our ass. I seen it happen. I seen the opposite happen also, where it was a guy from Midtown that does the Broadway district, right? That does the Broadway show district thing, that detail. I guess he didn't hook up a chief with Broadway tickets or something like that one day. And the chief called IB up and goes, look, investigate this guy. Find something on this guy. We do tests on this guy. And nothing happens, right? We're like, this guy passed the test. We get a call back and we're going out on the test again. They're like, why are we going out testing this guy again? He already passed. Oh, the chief said go out and test him again. Second time, pass. Third time, test him again. Test him till we find something. So we had to get him on like some bullshit where it was like improper memo book entries or something like that, right? And then the guy retires, like, fuck this, I'm out. And that's what happens. When you have people with integrity and with people with time on that really like are true believers and stuff like that, they get pushed out by the administration. They get forced out.
Steve, before we start with the charges, I said that I believe that everything that was happening in the 109 when it related to prostitution, drug sales, potentially a lot worse, sex trafficking, possibly even covering up serious assaults, maybe even worse, murder.
Yeah.
I believe everything that was happening while you were there, while you were getting paid off, while you were undercover, paid off from these restaurants. I believe that it's still happening today in the 109, and there are cops still
absolutely
being paid off, and it's going all the way up to the top. Do you think that is currently happening?
Absolutely, 1,000%. If you want, at any day, any time, you could go to any of these karaoke's and you'll see prostitution, sex, drugs. You see all this stuff going on. And if you hang out there long enough, you'll see cops there hanging out there too. You'll start noticing the cops hanging out there. Absolutely, 1,000%. 1,000%.
Steve, you got great insight. You talk about how investigations play out. So, John and I, obviously, we've been pretty open about it, that we made a complaint to Internal Affairs about the attack on our First Amendment speech, right? Including Jimmy Rodriguez, which attacked, came at John because he got his information from the upper echelon of the police department, who is a known felon at Consafritos, and also a fake moniker, All Cops Will Walk, with actual members of the service threatening our children's lives and actually making indirect threats to our lives as well. How do you think that investigation is playing out? What do you think is going on with that investigation?
I think what probably happened was they found out who the person was. They know who the person was. They do, like a BS, half-ass investigation. They'll go look into that guy, do whatever. They're like, oh no, he's not doing anything because he's hooked up. And then they close out the investigation to unsubstantiate it.
All right,
because that's what they've done.
That's what they do. So look, you got a lot of haters, right? I mean, good on you, because if you don't have any haters, that means that you probably never stood up for anything, and you're
that means you're not doing something right.
You're in the wind, and I feel for you, bro. Listen, I stepped up. I think I showed integrity. I was like, I'm not doing what you tell me to do. I'm not firing people. I'm not terminating people for doing absolutely nothing wrong. I'm not coercing women to put something in their body to keep their job. I'm not doing it myself. I think what I did is an honorable thing, and people beat the crap out of me for it. You're a loser. You're scared. You ran from New York City. You were a terrible cop. And I'm like, it hurts a little bit. I'm not going to lie. At first, it used to hurt me. I built up skin. And the same thing for Eric, right? Eric was the most complained about cop. He was involved in all these incidents, and everyone beat the crap out of him too when he came out, right? It was like, oh yeah, you were a terrible cop. You didn't know what the hell you were doing out there. You only got those complaints because you didn't know what you were doing, and all that stuff. So I just want to tell you, dude, I wouldn't worry about anything that anybody says, honestly, because it's you at the end of the day. You got to sleep at night. I support you. I don't care what background you came from. I don't care how you grew up in your childhood. You became a New York City police officer. You worked undercover to report corruption. That investigation was completely bumbled on purpose. There were numerous things that happened during that investigation. And I know for a fact, by the way, I knew this before I ever talked today to you, because there was one thing that you said on here. You said that everyone knew about that investigation. And I was fully aware of that investigation, every little intricate detail of that investigation. And I was not involved in that investigation. So he's 100% correct about that. I knew exactly what was happening. I knew exactly what happened in numerous of those operations. Why? Because IB ran a Mickey Mouse operation. They allowed corruption to flourish. They turned a blind eye to other corruption. And then after the case was over, they wanted absolutely nothing to do with you. And was like, all right, let's get rid of this guy. Let's pretend like he doesn't exist. And when you started making noise, and I know why you made noise. You made noise for the same reason that I made noise. You made noise for the same reason that Eric made noise. You made noise for the same reason that Sal Greco made noise. You made noise to protect yourself, because you said, how else am I going to protect myself? I don't have any other choice but to go out in the media, because there's only two things that the NYPD responds to. There's only two things that the elected officials respond to, and it's bad publicity and lawsuits. Those are the only things they respond to. Nothing else. They don't follow the law. They don't care about anything. Bad publicity and lawsuits. Those are the only thing that they will respond to. Everything else does not matter. They will come at you night
So
and
a couple
day.
of things, right? Like, John, like your COVID vaccine thing, the truth is coming out. You see the city's doctor and stuff like that admitting it and all that stuff. Eric, if you don't get complaints, you're not doing your job. If you're a house mouse here, you're not going to get any complaints. But if you're out there in the street every day, putting your hands on people, doing your job, doing God's work, enforcing the law and stuff like that. I'm not talking about violating people's rights, but you're out there doing your job. You're in an active neighborhood. You have to. There's no way you're not going to get any complaints. There's no way. So all the stuff that you're saying, I totally agree with 1,000%. 1,000%.
Steve, I live by two codes. And this is what always gets me through life, even having the moniker of most complaint cop. And I always say what other people think of me is none of my business. And I always tell John this all the time. When I walk into a room, if I walk into a party, if I walk into a room where I meet people, I don't ask, do they like me? I ask myself, do I like them? And that's what keeps me sleeping at night. I decided to wear this moniker, the cop, for 2 years, and I've actually just removed that name from my handle recently, because what I think at this point is I proved that it's exactly that. It's just a moniker. It's not real. Yes, complaints are a byproduct of doing real police work, but I believe I've proved that I was targeted by an overzealous civilian complaint review board. If you look at my career up to 2017, from 2004, I didn't have many complaints at all. And I was an anti-crime sergeant, active cop. Very few. It was kind of a byproduct doing police work. And I got 80% from 2018 to 2020, and I received 8 administrative charges in a 6-week period. You can see it's a complete attack. And the reason why I just removed it from my moniker is because I think at this point I'm starting to distance myself, and now people start to see me as Eric Dim. Because even like you spoke about stigma, I did have that stigma on me where people are like, oh, I get it. He was out there doing police work, but maybe he was beating people up, maybe he was, and some people had that kind of stigma, but I think I'm starting to distance myself, and people start to see me as Eric Dim, because in those 2 years, you would think if I was this monster they painted me out to be, there would be other things surfacing, or you would think that in my retirement that I would be involved in things, but it's just quite the opposite. People expected before I started to speak that I would be some type of Neanderthal. All they knew of me is this most complaint cop, and then they hear that I'm articulate, and then I read books, and I'm a conversationalist, and I believe in humility, and I train martial arts, and I have a family, and they start to see me in a different light. And that's what we want for you, Steven. I want people to see you in a different light and see that what internal affairs put you through, no matter how it started or not, what they did is unfair, and it could happen to someone else. That's why it's so important. John tells his story. John tells a story so that this doesn't happen again, so that people are not having to make a decision within 7 days on what's going on with their career. So, Stephen Lee, you tell your story so it doesn't happen to other people. I tell my story so that someone else is not the most complaint cop. And there are people that are surpassing me as we speak. And I do believe that this podcast has made an impact by speaking out, because we've seen another lieutenant who had a similar record to myself get promoted to captain. So with that being said, I just want to ask Stephen, so when some people say some things about you negative, why does that have an impact? Is that a sense of guilt, or you want people to know that the real Stephen Lee is a man of character and a man of worth? Why does that bother you? Why does that get to you?
Because I know I did the right thing, and then it's like, for me to be attacked for doing the right thing, it's like, I don't know if you feel betrayal or something like that, where it's like getting shafted, getting shorted in the stick and stuff like that. Is just getting fucked. I just don't. I mean, like, I'm in the hole, and it's people like that are encouraging the bad people to get away with it. Does that make sense? Like, it's like, yo,
absolutely.
I'm the only one that got punished for it. The people who got arrested and stuff like that, the lieutenant, he's retired. He's making millions. He's still out there consulting these places. He's making millions.
Exactly.
Right? The cop, the detective, he's still telling people he's still on the job and he's still getting money. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
he had dinner with Caban.
Listen,
so the bottom line is, you were out there, you were put in this precarious situation. Life was in danger. They threw you out like a bag of trash, and it still goes on.
Not only did they throw me out like a bag of trash, they got promoted for it. Anybody who touched my case got SA pay or got promoted.
And they bumbled the whole thing.
Or on the fast track of promotion. You're inspectors now and stuff like that.
Of course, yeah. You got screwed. You got financially ruined. You got your good name ruined. And everyone that was involved in the corruption is doing just fine and are still good people and in good standing with the department. Got it.
Yeah, then when people are saying attack me about it, it hurts, because it's like, yo, I did the right thing, and I still fucking attack. Leave me the fuck alone already. Y'all already took all the stuff away. Leave me the fuck alone. I did the right thing. Shut the fuck up. You know, I think about it all the time. If it happens again, would I do it again? Yeah. I don't think my conscience will allow me not to do it.
Of course. Well,
that's how fucked up it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Listen, there's, I don't know if you got you. I don't think you guys are Catholic, but I mean, that's the crucifixion story, right? If you tell the truth and you do nothing wrong, you're going to have a major cross to bear, right? You're going to have a major cross to bear. I don't know if you're sending me some Buddhist shit, but that's not that in the Buddhist thing. That is not, why Buddha?
What is that?
No, that I'm talking about.
This is what I got into
the Catholic Bible. I'm talking about the Catholic
No,
Bible.
the Buddhist way would have been just leave it alone. Let nature deal with it.
That's what I'm saying. The Buddhist way would have been.
That's my point, Stephen. Sometimes that's what I'm saying. At this point, sometimes you life is about suffering, and sometimes some things you have to, like, when it comes to the naysayers, just let them be. You can't control them, but you can control yourself, and that's a lot of the Buddhist theory. And that, like I said, I'm reading this book. It's fantastic. It's called Why Buddhism is True. And the beauty about Buddhism is that it respects all religions, because it's kind of like a secondary, right? You could be Christian, you could be Catholic, you could be Jewish, and still be Buddhist, because your spirituality of it. And it really,
but like you said, you're going to go along to get along. That's the Buddhist. You're going to go along to get along. You're not going to say anything. You're going to take the shot. You're not going to make waves. You're not going to do anything, because if you do, bad's going to come on.
Well, it's part of karma, I guess you could say, right? So,
which is not part of my religion.
I mean, look, the reason why I did things, I think it's the way I was raised, right? I was raised in Brooklyn Flatbush, so I was raised around, we clicked up, we had like little kid gangs and stuff like that, like we ran around and stuff like that. We did terrible things as kids, but it was kids running around the neighborhood. Now, what was, you're not a rat, don't rat on your friends, right? And you got to be honorable. A man, all a man has is his words and his balls, right? You got to be honorable. Do the honorable thing. Look, this thing, do I see myself as a rat in this situation? No, because a rat gives up other people to save their own skin. I had no benefits from doing this shit, as you can see. I had no benefits from it, nor did I want any benefits from it. They are the ones that offer me SA pay and detail choice. They're the ones that said, "Oh, don't worry, you're gonna be, you're gonna land on your feet. You'll get, pick a detail, or you'll get SA pay. Don't worry about it. Blah blah. You get the money." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever you say," but they still didn't give it to me. Did I go chasing after it? No.
Steve,
All right, so
Sorry.
Hold on. Let's just get into that real quick before we go, because let's get into that real quick, because there was a comment last week that said that the only reason you did that is because you're a perp and you stole an iPad. That's why you went undercover. What do you have to say about that?
No, the iPad thing didn't come out till like after I was undercover.
And what was it?
After I was undercover. It was Jimmy giving an iPad to my daughter for Christmas.
And you were already undercover.
I was already undercover, and IB knew about it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the common theme that goes on, is that that's what the story that's told about you is that you stole an iPad.
Actually, no, sorry. Wait. Actually, that was before I was undercover, but IB knew about it. I told IB about it when I was undercover. They were like, "You ever get any gifts from Jimmy?" And I told him, "Yes." One time, he gave my daughter an iPad for Christmas.
But that's not.
And they knew about it.
That's not what the allegation is. The allegation is you stole an iPad, you got caught, and then you went on.
Why would I steal the iPad?
Yeah, that's what the person said that was on here. So New York City.
I'm an Android guy. I don't even touch Apple products. Why would I steal an iPad?
Sorry to hear. So New York City Crime Spot says, I grew up and live in the 109. Pretty clear the sex industry is flourishing, and we have a number of flushing deaths associated with it. So currently,
it's worse now.
So currently, and I think the same is true in the 7-2. I hear a lot 7-2, 6-6 Porter. There's a lot of the same thing: sex trafficking, gambling, drugs, things of that nature.
Yep.
So at the time you were undercover, Tommy Ng, I believe, was a deputy inspector in charge of the 7-2 precinct. He's now in charge of Queens North in the 109. So
he had nothing to do with it. He had nothing to do with it. No, he had nothing to do with it because he was the one. I'm friends with Tommy, right? I'll be honest. He was the one that pulled me into the 109. All right. He was the XO of the 109 when this thing happened. But before I went there, he was like, "Yo, Steve, don't come here, man. If you come here, you can't hang out or whatever. There's a lot of heat here, whatever." And I'm like, "I'm not doing anything anyway. It's close to my house. I want to go there." Fine. He pulled me in. He's the one that actually put some of these places on unlawful location lists.
Well, I hear he's tight with Jimmy Lee.
Yeah. So. No, he was the one that actually put his place on the unlawful location list. The one on 147 in Northern, he put that place on the unlawful location list. He was the one that actually reported Lieutenant Kai to IAB when he tried to step in and try to squash an inspection in the 7-2. So he actually reported a lot of these people. Did he come out and investigate it? No, but he actually reported a lot of these places.
Steve, I just want to stay on track here because I don't know, but I'm just going to make this assumption. I think what a lot of people want to know is how much did you know about what was going on with this, and did you have any involvement? I'm just going to come out and ask you because what some people are asking, this is what's been posed to me, is how did this lieutenant feel comfortable enough to approach you to say, "Hey, let's put a rape charge on this CO"? Because what a lot of people are saying is, "Hey, they wouldn't come to me." Because I'm saying the same thing. I got to be honest. I'm saying I'm pretty confident that no one's coming to me and saying, "Hey, I'm going to put a rape charge on somebody," or John, because I would say, "Go F yourself." That ain't happening, brother. So I think that's what people want to. So I'm just going to come out and ask you: did you have any dealings when they came to you? Did you know what was going on, or this whole thing just sparked because of this one particular allegation?
Did I know that they were getting paid off? No. I knew that they hung out at the bars. Did I have drinks at these bars? Yeah. I went out and had drinks with the guys at the bars, but we were just drinking at the bar. With my team, they'll be like, "Yo, come on, let's go have a drink here." Okay, we'll go out and have a drink. Sometimes I see the lieutenant out there having a drink. We'll sit down, we'll have a drinks together, you know. But when we were having drinks, it wasn't like that. It was, you know, we got discounts, you know. They did the right thing. They, you know, sometimes gave us drinks on the arm and stuff like that. We got discounts. But to me, that wasn't corruption. To me, that was just like, you know, they appreciate cops and, you know, they want to do the right thing, right? Also, I was the lieutenant's team. I was his sergeant. You know, I was his go-to guy whenever he needed something done. Yeah, sure, no problem. I'll do it. You know, because that's just the type of cop I was. I was the type of cop where it was like, you needed something done, you needed a condition addressed. I'll go out, I'll find a way and correct that condition. You know, like I'll go out and do my job and fight that crime or whatever. I was an active guy. You know, did I go around and like do fucked up shit? No, because to me it was like, it's not worth it.
So Drone Ranger says, listen to him justifying being in a childhood gang prior. Drone Ranger, the entire upper echelon on the NYPD was in a gang called the Seven Crowns. They're actually on the Supreme Team documentary. I think you should watch it. I don't see you giving as much criticism to Eric Adams and his cronies. So again, if you grew up in New York City and you weren't hanging out in the street and you didn't know these people, you probably have no business being a cop. That's my opinion. That's why the better cops were the kids who grew up in New York City, who understand
Absolutely.
what the hell is going on, is because you actually had to deal with it.
Because you have street smarts.
You know how to do it. It's not like the Long Island kids. You can put them in the middle of they have no idea what's going on. They're like, what's happening? You know, it's just sorry. Or the guys from upstate, they just don't know. And they'll be like, how do you see that? And I'm like, what do you mean, how do I see it? How don't you see it? You know, it's the same thing. So, like, I'm not knocking someone's childhood. I ain't going to knock you over your childhood. I had a very similar childhood. So, all right, let's get into it. Let's get into the charges about the department. You go undercover, and then after the investigation plays out, the investigation's completely bumbled. They don't stop the corruption. The corruption's continuing to happen in the 109 precinct. Yeah. I will tell a story about what recently happened, though, and it involves Tommy Yang later on. I'm not going to say it now. But so then the NYPD starts coming after you, finally getting you for minor things. Oh, he was in the lounge when he wasn't supposed to be and didn't put himself in the book. Or he was in the wrong lounge and things of that nature. It was clear as day that you were targeted afterwards. Yeah. But you did some stuff in there. You went on a podcast that pissed a lot of people off.
That really pissed a lot of people. I think that was the one that broke their back.
You know, and so we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the exact order of the department's final order of dismissal. This is the matter of the disciplinary proceedings against Sergeant Stephen Lee, the time he was assigned to the Brooklyn court section. So Sergeant Stephen Lee, tax registry number, it doesn't matter, having been served with written notice, has been tried on written charges and specs. They give the numbers of that. They go through the entire thing. Now, therefore, pursuant to the powers vested in me, Section 115 of the Administrative Code of New York City, I hereby dismiss Sergeant Stephen Lee from the police service of the city of New York. That was Keechant Sewell, then police commissioner. She does this on November 1st, 2022. So, you know, all the people that were there, they give it. So here's charges and specs. Said Sergeant Stephen Lee, while assigned to the police academy, while on and off duty, on or about in between February 15, 2018 through October 19th, 2021, knowingly associated with several individuals or organizations reasonably believed to be engaged, likely to engage in, or have engaged in criminal activities. What do you have to say about that? This is what's known as criminal association. The same thing that they charge the Sal Greco with. The same thing that Ed Caban, Jeffrey Maddrey, Kaz Daughtry, Eric Adams, the rest of the entire upper echelon administration do and continue to do daily, which is known as criminal association. Stephen, what do you have to say about that charge?
First of all, the investigation on that was them taking all the phone numbers out of my phone and running them in the computer and seeing if they're tied to a known criminal. One of the phone numbers was my mom's number. And apparently the person that had that number before my mom has it now was a criminal, was some Spanish name. And they were like, oh, you're hanging out with this guy. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I put that number in my phone. I'm like, this is my mom's number. What are you talking about? My mom is 70 something years old. She has nothing to do with anything. She never even had any incidents with any law enforcement, whatever, right? The other thing is they were talking about China Mac. I did protests with China Mac for Stop
Who's
Asian
China
Hate.
Mac? Just for the audience. Who's China Mac? Just for the
China
audience.
Mac used to be in a gang called Ghost Shadows. He was locked up for 10 years for, I think, shooting at another rapper or something like that. He was locked up for 10 years. He came out. He's fully reformed. He's now a YouTuber, doing like eating reviews and, interviews and stuff like that. He still raps. And one day he saw the grandma, elderly lady, Asian lady, getting burned in Brooklyn, in Bensonhurst, and he wanted to do something about it. So he calls me up. He goes, "Yo," because I knew him from other protesters and stuff. So he's like, "Oh, yo, I want to do something about this. Can we protest on this? Whatever. Why wasn't it a hate crime? Blah blah." So I explained to him, a hate crime is something where the person has to state that they did something because of a certain race or whatever agenda, right? And we got people together. I put him together with a guy named Will Lex Ham, because he was doing protests for Black Lives Matter at the time and Asians for Black Lives Matter at the time. And I put them together and they came over protest and we did the protest. Eric Adams even spoke at that protest. So I was like, it's not like we're hanging out and plotting crimes together and stuff like that. No, we're giving out turkeys for Christmas. We're giving out chickens for Christmas. We're doing food drives. We're doing protests and stuff. So it's all community work. So,
I will
there's
say
another
this,
one where,
Steven, I think
Yeah.
I think at this point, honestly, I think that the whole criminal association thing is a moot point. It's a moot point because of what we see, what's going on with the police department. The only thing I will say is, at the time, that you were aware that was a policy. So did that come across in your head though? Did you think like, okay, there's a policy of the police department that I shouldn't be associated with this person? Or did you say, well, it's a moot point because other people in the police department are associated with reformed criminals? I mean, I do think it's a moot point because of the upper edge. Did that come across your mind?
I think it was, to me, the criminal association thing, it didn't even come to my head, because to me, the criminal association thing is if you're like plotting and sitting down with known criminals and you're trying to do crimes together, right? That's, to me, is criminal association, right? You can't be hanging out with people that are plotting crimes and stuff like that, and you know about it, That's criminal association. To me, this was community work. It was like I'm doing stuff in public, in community. I'm not hiding in the dark with it. I'm not trying to hide it. It was all online and stuff like that. I'm in the videos with them and stuff. So I'm not trying to hide it. You see us just doing protests and giving out turkeys and stuff. So I saw it as public service. Like, we were doing community work. It wasn't going through my head that, oh, this guy's a known criminal. Everybody in New York City is almost a known criminal. So it's just no way you can avoid that.
Do you still associate with China Mac?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I still talk to him. I still say, hey, how's everything going? Help me promote this video, whatever, and stuff like that. Or when you're back, let's go have dinner. Yeah. He's not doing crimes out there no more. He's making money on YouTube. He hasn't done anything since he came out.
So a lot of people on here saying you didn't fully answer the question why they felt comfortable coming to you with a rape charge. Why the lieutenant felt comfortable with you with a rape charge. I'm just going to answer real quick before you answer. I just want to say that again, it's an attack on character, and you're not looking at the big picture that there was corruption going on in the 109 and it's still going on. I just want to clarify that. And I'm just going to say, I think that they came to you, Steve, because you grew up in that neighborhood. People knew you. People were comfortable with you. And that's what it is. And
I hung out in that neighborhood too. And I hung out in that neighborhood, Yeah. And he felt comfortable with me because I'm his driver and I'm his sergeant. Everything he needed done, he just came to me. He's like, yo, Steve, can you do an inspection here? Yeah, no problem. Yo, Steve, can you, there's supposed to be like reported of, GLA's over here in this area. Can you go out there and, find out what's going on? Yeah, sure. If you, this, Cadillac converter's getting stolen from a U-Haul parking lot. Can you check, stake that out and check that out? Yeah, I'll get it done. We're driving to the pizza shop. I'm driving him to the pizza shop. He's sitting in the passenger car, in the passenger side. I'm driving there on Northern and 162. And he's just going off. He's just like talking. Oh, yo, man, this fucking new CEO, he's fucking nuisance, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I got no problems with him. He's like, yo, man, nah, man, we got to get rid of this guy. And I'm like, all right, make a phone call. Why don't you call one of your hooks? No, that won't work. He's well, like, up top, too. We got to come up with something else. I'm like, what the fuck you mean? Like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't know, man. Yo, you do these inspections at these karaoke. You bump into these girls a lot, right? You know some of them. I'm like, I know my face. Yeah, sure. He's like, can you find one of the girls and see if they, will say that he raped her or something like that? I'm like, what? You bugging. He got out the car, went to get his pizza, came back in. I didn't mention anything about it anymore. I thought he was venting. I let it go for a week. John, I let it go for a week. I thought he was just venting. I just thought he was like, blah, 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 blah. All right. He's shit talking. The whole week. Yo, Steve, you found a girl yet? No. I'm busy right now. I got to go do that inspection you told me to do. Yo, Steve, you found a girl yet? What girl? What are you talking about? Conforti. Oh, no. I haven't been doing inspections. You know that. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? For a whole week. And then after the week, I was like, yo, this is crazy. He's not playing around. I'm going to tell Conforti.
Steve, I'll give you credit because every time you tell a story, we've heard it several times now. It's the same, right? There's 1,000 ways to tell.
Dude, that's the way it happened. You know what I mean?
No, I'm saying I'll give you credit because it's always the same. But I kind of relate it. John talks about where he grew up. I grew up mostly in Stapleton, Staten Island. It was a rough neighborhood. I grew up in Brooklyn too, but most of my time I spent in Stapleton. It was a rough neighborhood, and I was a ball player. I used to play basketball, so I was on the basketball courts all day. And I used to play with the kids. They were all part of crews. They were in gangs. I wasn't part of that stuff. But I played ball with them, so they felt comfortable with me. Then they played ball with me. So, and even there was a time where there was a kid who got arrested, and he was supposedly they had to EDP him, screaming, "Yo, get Eric Dim!" And I wasn't a gang member because he just knew me because we played ball together. So that part I can understand. John talked about that. I get it. But I think that people are skeptical of your story because they felt comfortable with you while you were on the job. That's what I assume, at least. But I appreciate that your story does remain the same.
Well, the criminal association also there were some people that had my PBA card that got arrested. And I think they had like marijuana on them, so like they got arrested for marijuana. One of the guys was one of the CIs that I tried to introduce them to IAB to sign up as a CI to help with the investigation, right? He's a known gang member. He was in Flying Dragons, whatever, right? And he wanted to help with the investigation. He said, yo, I know situations where they come in and rob the gambling houses and stuff like that. I know situations where, they try to rob the massage parlor and everything. I know situations where, they're getting paid off and stuff. And I own some businesses too. I could, offer to pay off one of the cops or whatever and get it on tape for you guys. And they wanted to sign him up as a CI. And in exchange, I gave him a PBA card. Yeah, sure. There's another guy named Joe Lynn I played poker with. And he got pulled over with that guy, Chris, right? And they both got pulled over. Yeah. I gave him a PBA card. Do I hang out with him? No. He told IAB that we were close family friends. I told IAB, okay, if that's true, do you ask him if he even knows my parents' names or he even knows my kid's name and stuff like that? Or does he even know where I live? Do you ask him all that if we're close family friends? And they're like, no, we didn't bother to investigate that. Once he said that, that's it. We associated with you, and that's it. And I was like, what kind of investigation is that? Because it's not true. He's not fucking close family friends with me. I played poker with the fucking guy a couple times. That's it. And we have mutual friends. So then later on, he admitted.
You must have been a dirty cop. You played poker. That's it.
Right. And then later on, he admitted that he only talks to me during Christmas time when the PBA cards come. So
Listen, I love all the new users on here. Thank all of you people with fake names and no names coming on here. So we're talking about the one charge that we were talking
Please
about.
subscribe. While you're up here, please subscribe.
Yeah,
Or you
please
haters.
subscribe, hit the like button 100%. So, but while we're up here, I just want to say that, criminal association, in my opinion, it should just be thrown out of the window because every single cop on this job has criminally associated. You have all did this exact thing. You all do it every day. I'm going to tell you what you all do every day. You knowingly associated with individuals and organizations believed to be engaged in, likely to engage in, or have engaged in criminal activities. Meaning, if your next door neighbor, a 75-year-old Italian guy, got arrested when he was 15 years old for stealing a car, or for drunk driving when he was 19, or for, I don't know, he threw a piece of paper out of the window and he forgot to pay the summons and then he got a warrant. You have what known as criminal association, my friends. So I never want to hear about the charge criminal association again, because criminal association, we had a city police commissioner's brother who was arrested and fired from this job, who was given a NYPD security detail and a taxpayer-funded car to drive around while he was running a, what, people? Consulting firm for what? For nightlife establishments. Who else criminally associates with rappers, drug dealers? The entirety of New York City, Eric Adams, the entire upper echelon of the New York City Police Department. So I just want to say right now, for all of you that are jumping on this whole criminal association thing, the PBA card thing, I could give two shits about PBA cards. I don't even get them. I never gave them out. If you got my PBA card, it's like having a Mickey Mantle because it's rare. It's like having a rookie. It ain't out there. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's not saving criminals from getting anything. So the whole PBA card thing is ridiculous. They should just scrap the whole program at this point. It's a joke. Let's move on to the next thing. This is something that I'm going to say right now I have a problem with, depending upon how it was used, because it was used directly against myself and Eric, where our names have been ran hundreds of times in Department of Computers, and the information has been released publicly online by John Shell, Kaz Daughtry, all of their little paid cronies who don't know any better and don't know that they're committing crimes, misusing police resources, overtime, and all this. So charge 2, said Sergeant Stephen Lee, while assigned to the police academy, while on duty and off duty, on or about and in between February 15, 2018 through October 19, 2021, wrongfully made 50 queries on 37 dates on department computer systems and confidential databases, which were unrelated to the official business of the department. What do you have to say about that, Steve?
Over the period of 3 years, 50 queries on how many dates? 37.
37 dates?
Whatever it's at. 37 dates.
And it's on or off duty. So some of the times was either I'm on overtime or whatever. They told me to run this plate on the parking lot, and is MOS plate, of course, because it's in the police academy parking lot. And they're parking in the wrong spot. Run that plate, whatever, and it comes as that. The other times off duty, though, it was I'm living on Barclay Ave, right, in the 109, and with my wife. And sometimes there's cars or people that I don't recognize on the block that bump into me and introduce themselves. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Because who the fuck just comes up to you and introduces themselves in New York City? They'll be like, oh yeah, I recognize you from blah blah blah, stuff like that, so forth and so on. And a lot of this stuff was when I was campaigning too. So it's like, oh, I want to help donate this and that, whatever. I'll run their name first, yeah, because I don't know who the fuck they are. I don't know if they're out to get me or not. This is after all the times where they when Ron came, the incumbent I was running against, he doxed me online when he put my public address out there and stuff like that. So people were coming after me. So I'm like, I have no idea who you are. And for my safety, yeah, I'm going to run your fucking name. Do I regret it? No. That's why I pled guilty to it, I think. Did I plead guilty to that charge? I think I did. Because they got me on technicality. I'm like, all right, yeah, I ran names. Yeah. I did it for my own safety. They're like, oh, why didn't you call 109 precinct? So you want me to call the 109 precinct who I think are possibly the ones that are coming to get me? No, I'm not going to do that. Why don't you call IAB? Because I'm fucking suing you guys, and I'm suing you guys for fucking corruption and for covering up the corruption and stuff like that and helping these guys. So you want me to call you guys and be like, hey, is that you trying to get me? No, I'm not going to do that.
Steve, I'm going to go into this. But I just, on a lighter note, just want to say Cal Fire Rescue $9.99 to the podcast. Thank you so much. You must all be lying about the current NYPD administration. Tom Selleck never got his phones taken. I saw part 1 and think Stephen Lee appears credible. NYPD sounds as corrupt as LAPD. And shout out to Rob. Thank you so much. Rob says he wears the podcast t-shirt 3 times a week in a 7-day period. That's outstanding, brother. I appreciate it. I just want to say it's interesting what you're saying, and you're supporting your decision to run these plates. Now, I will say, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
I never ran anybody's plates on duty or off duty. I was actually terrified of doing that. I never wanted to get caught doing that. So here's my question with that, right? You admit to making that mistake. You say at this point that you're pretty much paranoid, that you're worried about your safety. So if it wasn't this situation, I'm going to give you an opportunity to say this. If you weren't in this situation with internal affairs, would you have been running plates? Did you run plates?
Absolutely not. No, I have no reason to. No. So absolutely not.
So prior
Steve,
to this,
did you ever give anyone information that you ran on the computer, or was that for your own personal?
No, it was all for my personal stuff.
So prior to
myself.
This, so Stephen, prior to this, as John said, which I think is, which is a good point I want to get into. So what was the purpose of running these plates? What were you intending on doing it with it? So if you did find someone that maybe you thought was part of one of these gangs, or it was a cop, what was your intentions? What would you do with this information?
I don't know. It depends what the information came back with. If it came back as, the person lives nearby, all right, I didn't think anything of it. If it came back as one of the people I might have investigated or knew, then I would have, prepared myself.
So I don't know. So like I'm with you. Like I never really ran stuff, but if I thought I was being followed, I ran things 100%. And I was followed a couple of times. I was followed a few times, and sometimes, it was by IAB because they were terrible at following people, and they were actually following my tenant and not me. And right. they're just so dumb that they were following me for days. And I was telling everyone, I thought I was paranoid, and I'm like, I'm not. But like when I see things like that, I mean, so anyone sitting here saying, "Oh, I never ran a plate," you're lying. You're lying.
And I told Department Psych this. And I told IAB this, right? When they GO me on it, I told Department Psych this. I was like, look, they're fucking following me and stuff like that. Department Psych tried to say I was paranoid or whatever. But then when I sent the thing to you, John, you saw it, right? The discovery from the department trial. They've been following me since 2017. So I'm not paranoid. They have been following me since 2017. Prior to this, did I run anybody? No, I had no reason to. And prior to this, did I have any of these charges? No. It's just all of a sudden, after I put in my lawsuit and exposed them, that's when all these charges come. That's why everything's from 2017, 2018 and up. That's when I put in my lawsuit.
I got to be honest, John. I love your brother, but I don't agree with that. I never ran anybody's plates. I ran plates that had to do with perps. I never ran plates.
Well, you think that he's telling you he thinks it's a perp?
No, I understand that.
I'm running a plate.
Hear me out, brother. I was never in that situation, so I can understand it. That's why I said to Stephen, I said, prior to this, were you running plates? And if you weren't in this position, would you be doing it? Thank God I was never in that position.
Let me ask you a question, Eric. If you let's say wherever you work, right? And there's this known perp, always known to carry a gun, drive the same car, same BMW or whatever, right? And then you see that same car parked in front of your house. You're not too sure about the plate. Would you run that car?
No, that's what I'm saying. Stephen, okay. That's why I asked you that question, where I said, prior to this, were you running plates, and were you doing this because you were paranoid and thought your safety was at risk? Yeah, I would. That's why I said I was fortunate. Thank God I never had that situation. I'm pretty fortunate. But if I did, yeah, I think I if that point I don't trust the police department and my safety's at risk, I'll do whatever. I said it before on the prior podcast. I think I'm a good person. I believe in humility. I treat people with respect. I can take anything that comes at me. But if my family's at risk, I will do whatever it takes. And if my family's at risk, I'll break the law. I'm telling you straight up, I'll break the law to keep my family safe. But I'm saying I didn't run plates. I never did. Because John said, you say that if you said you didn't run plates, you're lying. I got to be honest. I wasn't running any plates that I
So you
didn't
never ran a place in the police department. That's what you're telling me.
No, I did run plates for when I'm I have a perpetrator
Job
stopped or
purposes,
an
job purposes.
investigation. But
All
for my
right, so you
personal
ran a
use,
plate.
no.
If you tell me you didn't run a plate, you're lying. That's what I said.
No, you said for personal use. Am I right?
No, I did not say that. No, I did not say that.
That's
I
what you
never
said.
for personal use. No, I did not say that. I
But
never said that. I never
did
said
I run
that
a
word.
plate?
I said, if you're telling me you never ran a plate in the police department, you're lying. And
Okay,
clearly, everyone in
that's
this
not
department has ran a plate.
That's not the way I interpret it. But yeah, no, of course, did I run plates? Of course, I was out there doing special ops, anti-crime, was a cop. But I never ran a plate for my personal use. But what I'm saying is I can understand it. If Steven's in that situation at this point, you've been in a position of danger with the police department with IAB. I can understand it. I'm saying I was fortunate. I was never in that situation.
This is around the time where my wife is barricading the doors every time I left the apartment. She's pregnant with my son, and every time I left the apartment, she literally would put boxes and chain whatever on the door, and she'll put boxes and push it towards the door. Every time I came home, I tried to open the door, boom, it's the chain is there, and then I'm like, what the hell is going on? And my wife is like, oh, I'm coming, and she'll like clear the door.
First of all, you're a cop. You're allowed to run plates. So this whole thing that you can't run a plate and the department can determine what's an official time to run a plate or not is a bunch of bullcrap. Another charge that should get thrown right out the window. If you were running a plate, running a plate and giving it to a known criminal, now I have a problem with that. If you were running a plate for your own personal information in your head because you think that you're being followed or you think that your safety is in danger or you think this is part of a crime, that is a justifiable, warranted situation to run a plate. And every police officer has been in that situation where they ran a plate. So this whole charge to me is nonsense. Now, if you ran a plate because two guys started a podcast and they went after and they needed to know what cars you were driving, I have a problem with that. And they want to put your system in the LPR so they know that when you come to New York City where you are, I have a problem with those things, but it's perfectly fine for the upper echelon. So,
John, I think you raise a good point because I think you're right. You're absolutely right. And that's what I'm saying. What's the purpose? So I'm saying, did I run plates?
He told you the purpose. He's scared.
Hear me out. What I'm saying is, if I'm out there running plates for special ops, I was constantly running plates, getting information because I'm doing investigations. But I'm saying I wasn't doing it for my own personal use, but I can understand why he's doing it. But I think you raise a good point. His safety's at risk. Could he run those plates? Now, what I'm saying is I never ran plates. I've had people call me and say, hey, could you run this plate? I'm going out with some girl. I want to check it out. Like, I'm not doing that. Absolutely not. That's what I'm saying. So I don't want us to cross hairs. I want us to understand the same point. You shouldn't be in that situation anyway. And thank God my safety wasn't at risk. And but in your situation, I get it. My point is, I get it. I totally understand. You have to do what it takes to keep you safe, and you have a family. And that's what people have to understand also. So I think, John, you make a great point. He's doing it. It's pretty much for investigative purposes.
It's for official use. I don't care if it's on duty or it's off duty. And Joe Roscoe brings up a great point, too. Well, they want you to be cops 24/7, so you should be able to run plates. And here's another thing. Here's another thing that cops are all timid about. I can't run people. Oh, you can't. You can't run people? You're not a cop? You can't investigate people? Okay. Guess what happens when you associate with a known criminal? Oh, wait, but how do I know he's a known criminal? I'm not allowed to run anything about these people. Oh, I'm going on a date with this guy. I don't know anything about him. Oh, but he's a known criminal. Well, how the hell do I know? I'm not allowed to run him. Right? So I think all of this stuff, this is all fluff right here. Criminal associations, nonsense. Running plates and nonsense. Now, again, if you're working with these criminals and involved in a criminal enterprise with them, that's a valid charge. If you are running confidential information and giving it to a criminal, that is a valid charge. Anything short of that, I don't want to hear about it. Oh, I shook the guy's hand at a wedding. Oh, okay. I think that these charges are bullshit. Now, you do have more serious charges in here. We're going to start getting through.
Yeah. Go
You
on
ready,
now.
Steve?
Said Sergeant Stephen Lee, assigned to the police academy while on or off duty in between February 15, 2018 through October 19, 2021, having become aware of receiving an allegation of corruption or serious misconduct involving a member of service and did fail, neglect his CO and or Internal Affairs Bureau as required.
Yep. Yeah.
What happened there?
So while I was undercover, I met this guy. He's a used car salesman. His name is Jason. He got arrested for, he claims, suspended license. I think that he got arrested for something more serious because they wouldn't sign you up as a CI for suspended license. So it didn't make sense to me. So, but he didn't want to go into detail with it, so I didn't want to press him. All right. He goes, look, they signed me up at a CI and 109. They asked me to give up a guy with a gun. You know, these guys that been trying to extort me for, you know, my cars and stuff. They run the sex trafficking ring, whatever, you know, stuff like that. You know, you tried to help me with that before, but nothing happened. You know, the cops, I reported one of them as having a gun to the FIO in the 109. The FIO then told the perp. The perp went back and told him, yo, I heard that you went to my boy in the 109 and told him I had a gun. He's like, oh, what are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. So he came and found me. I go, you got to report it to Department of Investigations or Inspector General or IAB or something. And he goes, I don't trust them. I saw what they did to you. You know, I don't trust them. Please help me. You're the only person I trust. I called my lawyer up. I told him the same thing. He's like, all right, we'll report it to the Attorney General's office. So we reported to the Attorney General's office. IAB at the GO is like, why didn't you report it to IAB? Because one, the person didn't trust you guys. I'm not going to violate his trust by reporting it to you guys anyway. Two, I don't trust you fucking guys because I'm suing you guys for covering up the corruption to begin with, right? So yeah, I reported to the Attorney General's office. It's not like I didn't report it. I still reported it. Did anything come out of it? No, of course not. But I still reported it. So that was that. So
it's Steven, right? These, I agree with John, right? By the way, it's fun going back and forth, right? The first two charges, they're pretty much crap, you know. And I was saying I wasn't out there running plays for personal use, but your safety's at risk. You got to do what you got to do to keep your family safe. And you're right, you're a cop. I think we brought up some great points with that. But pretty much those first two are hogwash, and they're pretty much nonsense and moot points. But this is a far more serious charge. And I think so. What the question people might have at this point is, you know, something that I don't believe in, right? I don't believe that you should notify IAB as something anonymous, right? Because we're cops. But in your case, where you're saying you don't trust them, you think your safety is at risk. Why, at this point, why wouldn't you just maybe notify IAB anonymously just to cover yourself and get a number? And then at some point, if this investigation does come out, you could say, well, I did notify Attorney General, and based on, you know, everything that's going on, I don't trust them and I didn't feel comfortable. And I have this anonymous confidential number that I did make that notification.
Because it's never going to be anonymous, right? Because when you call, they're going to have your number. They're going to know that it was you. If they really want to know who reported, they're going to know it's you. So they're going to know it's me. And two, I already told my lawyer. And my lawyer assured me, look, we're going to talk to the Attorney General. Don't worry about it. You'll be good. You told me about it. I'll testify to it. And at the GO, he testified to it. Did they care? No. But yeah, in hindsight, are you supposed to report it to Internal Affairs? Yeah, do it anonymously. Yeah, you're right. But at the time, I don't trust them.
But you reported
I reported to
the
Attorney General's office. Yeah, I did. I reported to the Attorney General's office. Yes, I reported to the Attorney General's office. I didn't report it to IAB though. They said the hard rule in the patrol guide is you must report it to IAB, not anybody else, nobody else. You have to come to IAB and tell us about it. And I was like, I don't believe in that because you guys are corrupt. And I was like, I'm sorry, but shame on me for doing it the first time and getting fucked over by it. And then I'm going to do it again? No, it's not happening.
So you reported the corruption. You just didn't do it the way the patrol guide wants you to do it.
Correct.
If you had to do it again, what would you do? Would you still not report it, or would you report it?
I would probably use my friend Jason's phone and call IAB anonymously and get a log number.
Okay. I think that's good advice because, again, I think this is a bullshit charge and I don't think this matters. If you called and reported corruption, you reported corruption. Doesn't matter if you did it to IAB or not. IAB just wants to know so they could be ahead of it, not the NYPD, not be embarrassed. And so this way they could try to shit can it. So, again, I think
because remember, IAB is the one that covered up the corruption in the 109 in the first place when I reported to them. And I went undercover with them, right? So then I'm going to trust them to, when I report more corruption of the 109 to IAB, like that doesn't make any sense. As a good cop, does that make sense to you? Let's say you're following a perp around, right? You're trying to get a gang off the street, right? But you know that this group doesn't help you. In fact, they help the gang. You're gonna report to that group, hey, look, I'm about to do investigation on these gangs, whatever. Again, you're gonna tell them? No, of course not. I'm gonna tell freaking Attorney General's office. I'm gonna go someplace else. I'm not gonna tell you again, because shame on me for telling you the first time.
Was there anybody in IAB that you had a connection with that you trusted? Was there anybody left that you trusted, or this is just completed? I understand.
And even the people that I did trust, they couldn't give me a log number.
So that's a great point. That's a great point, Steve.
I think again, this is another sham. This is just fluff. This is just more fluff here. Honestly, under the advice of counsel, you reported it to the Attorney General. You reported corruption. Yep. Okay, this to me is nothing. This is to me as you wore White Sox. Okay.
No. Well, it's like they're throwing things at them and they just want something to stick, man. Well, it's crazy.
That's what exactly happens. So,
but here's the crazy thing, right? I'm the one that brung it up at the GO. They didn't come out and find this on their own. They didn't investigate and find this. What happened was at the GO, at that criminal association thing, that guy Jason came up, and I'm like, yeah, this is how I know him. This is why he called me, and I told him the story. And they're like, oh, did you report that? And I'm like, yeah, I told my lawyer. My lawyer reported to the Attorney General's office. They go, oh, you didn't report to IAB? I was like, no. And that's when they came up with this charge. I'm the one that came out and told them voluntarily because I didn't see anything wrong with it. So.
I mean, listen, It's White Sox. They hit you for White Sox. Those are 3 White Sox charges. That's what I see right now. So we're all familiar that Eric Adams is the first seated mayor to be indicted, but most of you don't know he's also the first New Jersey resident to be mayor of New York City. He's the first New Jersey resident to be a New York State senator, and he's the first New Jersey resident to be the Brooklyn borough president. So, he pulled a whole sham on the internet where he said he lived at a certain place that he never did one interview from, and no one ever knew that he lived there. No one on the block had ever seen him before. And then the person that gave him that apartment, he made a deputy commissioner, Lisa White, of Deputy Commissioner of Employee Relations. So let's get into the next charge. Said Sergeant Stephen Lee, while assigned to the police academy, while on or off duty. Yes, no, I'm sorry. I'm right. While on or off duty and or about in between March 10, 2020 through October 19, 2021, failed to provide his updated resident information to the Personnel Bureau as required. Now, I'm just going to read the next charge because it relates. So said Sergeant Stephen Lee, also while assigned to the police academy while on or off duty in the same time frame, failed to provide his updated residence information to the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles. So this is charges 4 and 5. We have 897 people on the chat. If you people could just do us a favor, if you could like, share, subscribe. If you're on social media, if you could like and share this post out so we can hear as we walk through the charges of Stephen Lee. And someone said, why are we grilling Stephen Lee when we gave easy softball questions to Edwin Raymond? I don't think that we're grilling Stephen Lee at all. We're allowing him to.
I don't feel like I'm being grilled either. I mean, I don't mind the questions.
Yeah, we're walking him through all of the things, all of the hate that myself, Eric, and Stephen have been getting since we did the interview. Yeah. We're speaking on it to dispel the information, and so that anybody could sit here and make their own opinion. If they want to continue with their opinion, that's fine. They may seem like hard questions, but they're not hard questions to me because I could totally explain them. Because it just the way they looked at it, the way they try to construe it, the way they try to do gaslight it is totally different, right? So the failure to update address. My parents have a house. They moved from Brooklyn when my dad retired from the MTA
Moved from Brooklyn to Bayside, Queens. I'm not going to give you the address, but it's in the confines of the 111, right? And there's still people there now that's going to fuck with me that run that precinct. The CO used to be the assistant ICO, and the 109 Richie Porto. Freaking Lieutenant Dolphin was the ICO. He's now over there too. There's a guy from IAB that went over there too before. All right, so they still have the house. My daughter was living there, right? The house is now under me and my brother's name in a trust. Okay, so the house, technically, I have ownership of the house still. My car is still registered there. That's why on my license it's that address. My voting address and where I lived at the time, or where I stayed sometimes, was mostly with my wife and my newborn son. My wife doesn't get along with my mom, so we had to move out, and we got an apartment. The apartment is in Queens, was on Barclay at that time, and they said, "Oh, I didn't update the address," and I was like, "Well, I live at both addresses. Both addresses are still good. I can still get in contact. You can still get in contact with me at both addresses." They go, "Oh, but where do you sleep at most of the time during the week?" I go, "What? Where do you sleep at? Where do you lay your head at most of the time during the week?" I go, "My wife and my son." Right? They go, "Oh, then you have to change your address to your wife and son's address." So I go, "Okay, so if one week I decide to sleep at my old room in my parents' house, do I have to change my address back? Like I have to keep changing it back and forth? That doesn't make any sense." And they had no answer to that.
Hey, Steve,
So
I just want to let you know, I don't want to give out the name, but one of my buddies actually just texted me, said he knew you from the job and that you were a really nice guy. So I just want to let you know, there's different opinions here, but it's really cool. I just want to say, first of all, I hate that charge. I think it's the stupidest thing. I don't care where you live. I don't care if you live in Jersey. I think if you're a cop, if you want to live in Virginia and you're willing to make the drive every day, that's your business. I don't like those questions. Where do you lay your head? I always thought that's none of their business. If you can make it to work on time and you can receive mail that the department wants to give you, if you give them a P.O. box, it should be your business. I never understood that. First of all, listen, I live by RV right now in retirement. I love to travel. And when I was on the job, I moved constantly. I constantly changed my address. And I didn't always update it on time. That's the stupidest thing. It's a 10-day hit, right? John,
well,
it's the stupidest thing. It's a 10-day hit. That's them just throwing
I want
things out.
Ron to do RV life. Hashtag RV life.
Did he do it? But I think it's the stupidest thing. Honestly, I'm hearing you and I'm like, I almost want to say, like, dude, stop, because I don't even want to. It's none of my business where you.
Well, this is the reason why they hit me on it, right? Because they couldn't find any.
Right.
The reason why they hit me on it.
No, I know. I'm defending you in this. I'm going to be the defense attorney on this one and say you shouldn't have to explain where you lay your head at night. Like, who cares if you have a house and you were a gigolo and every night you went to a different girl's house? That's your business. You make it to work on time. You can get mail. I hate those questions. I think that's stupid. I think this is a catch-all just to throw it at you. I want to know. This is what I want to know. Has any chief on the job, have they ever been hit with this? This is the stupidest charge I've ever heard. So you shouldn't have to explain any of that. And that's what I'm saying, Steve. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the reason why they hit me was this because they've been following me since 2017, right? And they've been going back and forth, following me. And sometimes they'll go to my address at my parents' house and just stake out that address. And then they realize, oh, I'm not showing up because I'm not there. And then they get mad about it. And they're like, oh, he doesn't live here anymore. He didn't change his address. Oh, check his 10 card. Did he update it? Oh, no, he didn't update it. And they're like, oh, let's get him on that.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Steve. It's stupid. You know what? It's funny. We're going through these charges right now. And it's like, wait a minute. All right. Criminal association. That's stupid.
And you know what's crazy? So during my arrest, there was an inspector that came in, right? And he was like, oh, your address on your license, you still live here? I was like, no, I stay with my wife at a different address, whatever. But that's my parents' address. The address is still good. He's like, oh, you got to update your address, right? And I was like, oh, okay. And then the lieutenant came in and was like, oh, no, disregard that. You don't have to change it. You don't have to update it. And then they hit me with this charge.
Jordan Ranger says,
if you were living in Jersey like Eric Adams, I would have a problem with it. If you were the police commissioner and you lived out of the 5 boroughs in New York City, like Keechant Sewell, like Edward Caban, I would have a problem with it because that violates the rules. You were actually in New York City. This is a complete nonsense. This isn't even a White Sox. This is drummed up. This is drummed up because you did live at both addresses, and there's nothing that says that you can't and you don't. You lived in the confines of the 5 boroughs in New York City, and you were easily traceable and trackable, and you were showing to work up every day. Dumb. This isn't even White Sox. This is drummed up. This is nonsense. This is pick a place and update it, but it's your choice. You could easily pick your parents or pick your new place. Doesn't matter. You picked your parents. Complete nonsense. I don't even. So far, how many charges are we in? We're 5 charges in, and I haven't heard one thing that I think is anything. So, all right, let's go down. So 5 charges in. Let's go. All right, here we go. So different disciplinary case. Said Sergeant Stephen Lee, while on off duty, in between September 1st, 2020 and September 30th, 2020, engaged in conduct prejudicial to the good order, efficiency, or discipline of the department. To wit, said efficiency. To wit, said sergeant participated in an unauthorized interview and without permission or authority from the Office of the Deputy Commissioner of Public Information. What do you got to say about that?
That's the Lucky Boy podcast I did. That was me exposing all their stuff, all their dirt. Were
you still on the job at that point? Because I could have swore when I watched that. Yeah, but weren't you on a leave of absence from the job?
No.
You weren't running. You were allowed.
I was running for state assembly at the time. Yeah, but I wasn't on a leave of absence. No.
Really? They allowed you to run without being on a leave of absence?
Yeah, you have to just write a letter to the mayor and stuff like that and get approval for it. And I got approval for it.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you have to say about that? I mean, I'll be honest. I never would speak to the public because I was aware of the order. Like, why'd you go out online and do that?
It needed to be known. All the fucked up shit they were doing. And, the more light it brought out, the more I was in protection. The more spotlight I had on me, the more protection I had.
Yeah.
So are you saying that this was your last recourse, that you felt you had nowhere to go? Well, because I same thing as John said. I didn't speak out with the public. I remember one time as a rookie, my partner and we saved a kid, and the Daily News came to speak to me, and they wouldn't even let me. They were like, "Oh, no, you can't speak to them." I was a rookie at the time, and I was like, "All right, that someone else had to speak." Unlike now where everybody speaks, but at the time it was we would treat like children. You were supposed to be seen and not heard. So to actually go out there on a podcast, you had to know, right? Let's be honest. You had to know that you were going to face some type of repercussions. At that point, did you just not care? Did you figure at this point you're in battle with the police department? What was your thoughts?
At this point, I'm already battling them. They're already retaliating against me for like 3 years now. And into it, I'm like, what else are they going to do to me? I didn't care anymore. It was to the point where it was like, why keep silent? I should let everybody know what the hell is going on, and maybe then I'll get some help. But at that point, it was the things I was saying was the quota system. I was talking about Schoolcraft. I was talking about the NYPD 12. I was talking about my investigative work. I was talking about all the fucked up shit they do to you when they retaliate and when you don't go against the quota, when you go against the quota system and stuff like that. How the people flip your locker. How the hazing and stuff like that. I was talking about how they don't care about us undercovers, right? How they put our undercovers safety at risk and stuff like that. They're talking about how I exposed their location. I didn't expose their location. I said it's someplace in Long Island City by the foot of the Queensboro Bridge. Is a building there that IAB has. And in that building, you have different groups and you have the undercovers. They don't care about us because when they geo people and stuff, they'll bring these people into that building and they'll geo them in that building. And then us undercovers would have to scramble and run and hide in the fucking offices and plaster up the windows, right? And we couldn't even go to the bathroom until the person left the building. Why would you do that? When you could just simply get us a different floor in the building, or you could put us someplace else like Narcotic does and Vice does, and put it someplace else remotely where no cops will be going there, you know, to get GO'd and stuff. Because you got cops coming in to get GO'd, and then you got the undercovers that tested them in the same fucking building. That makes no sense. So I said, if cops are really bad cops, real bad criminals, like the people I arrested, all they really have to do is sit outside this building, because everybody knows where it is in Long Island City. If you're a cop and you work in Queens, you know where the IEB building is. You just sit outside and you just stake out the place and just take pictures or look at people coming out the building, and you realize who the undercovers are and who's doing the tests and stuff. So all this fucking undercover bullshit is just BS. It's not real undercover work. You're not real undercovers. And people in IAB in Group 52, they all know that. They all feel that way too, that their safety is always in danger because of how they treat them.
Yeah. So listen, I got no problem with you going on the interview. And like, speaking of Edwin Raymond, that was one of my biggest knocks on Edwin Raymond, is that like, oh, he's allowed to go out in the media, is Hot 97, all these media appearances, and nobody says boo about any of it. And that was and I was like, and if I do that, I'm going to get slammed. So I personally think when it comes to the media, I could care less about that charge, that DCPI charge. It's a warranted charge. Is it a fireable offense? No. However, even bringing up the location of where Group 52 and the other covers are, and I know you were joking when you said go take the photos, because I actually joked about it one time too with them. I said, oh, come take a photo with me and I'm going to post it online, like joking, even though I wasn't on social media, and I would never do that. I still think it was wrong. But I do think these are warranted charges against you. I don't think that they're fireable offenses, but I do think that you went out online. This is my personal opinion. I think you went out online and spoke because you faced a lot of trauma during this time period when you were undercover and immediately after that, and you started to lash out. So I don't think that this would have happened. I don't think you would have went on the Lucky Boys podcast or spoke about any of this in any of this manner if you were treated completely differently and fairly and you didn't feel your life was in danger. That's my personal opinion. I don't know that to be true, but I will say
if I could tell you right now, 1,000%, if that was true, if that was the case, none of this would have happened. None of this would have happened. None of it. Not even my club incident and stuff. None of it would have happened.
Well, I think that's what we're talking. I think that's what we're talking about here, right? Two wrongs don't make a right, and but what we established is that the fault of the police department, put you in this precarious positions, right? You weren't running plates before this because your safety wasn't at risk. This, you weren't. You would have notified internal affairs with your name because you would have felt comfortable with this. Before this situation, you wouldn't be giving out the location. So I think at this point you are emotionally invested. I don't think it's right that you're giving up the location and that where undercovers are, but I can understand what has led you to this. And it's what I always say. It's the internal pressures of the police department. It's the failure of internal affairs to properly do a proper investigation. It's the treatment that you received. And we all have points of breaking. At this point, I think that you've broken. At this point, you're angry and you're pissed off. You have nowhere to go. And I'm not excusing you for it, but we can understand what the root cause is and where it came from.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
So, and the other thing, it's like, Logic Finest and a lot of people are saying, I'm not a cop and I know where that building is. And a lot of people are saying the same thing, that they're full. It's public information. That building's been there since 1993. Everyone knows that's where they turn out of. It's not like Steve put out this big secret. It's just not. Like it is common knowledge in New York City. It's common knowledge.
Was that Logic Finance?
Police department. So it really is true. And Logic Finance said it, and it really is true. It's not like it really, Nighthawk says it's not that secretive. It's not. It's actually, again, I'm going to use the term, It's Mickey Mouse.
And I didn't give an address because I didn't know the address.
All the people on IB that are on here that are mad or were in IB and mad, it's a Mickey Mouse run bureau. You guys have not uncovered real corruption. The corruption that you guys work against are against the lower ranks. You are completely incapable of weeding out the real corruption, which is the top-down corruption that's flourished the last 10 years and has took hold most recently in the last 3. And it's just, you want to take it personal, it's fine. I'm going to give you the same quote. I attack the system, you attack me because you associate yourself with the system. If you want to be part of the system, fine. We're gonna continue to agree to disagree because I don't agree with any of this. And
is the comment section filled up with haters and stuff? Because I haven't been looking at the.
I haven't been looking too much either, but yeah, I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, YouTube users all over it. You know, all names I've never seen before. You know, and so. You know, that's again, it's the IB runs a Mickey Mouse organization where everyone, single person knows what it is. I'm not excusing you for doing it. I still think it was wrong. I just do not think it was a fireable offense. So, and I don't think, and like I said, now we're 7 charges in, and the first 5 were complete nonsense, and I don't even think warrant command discipline. So, this one I could see you getting the command discipline for, or re-instruction. All right, so let's get into now. Here's where you actually wind up going to jail. Said Sergeant Stephen Lee, while assigned to the Police Academy Site and Security Unit on or about July 24th, 2021, while off duty, New York County engaged in conduct prejudicial to the good order, efficiency, or discipline of the department. To wit, said Sergeant Lee wrongfully engaged in a physical altercation with 3 individuals known to the department. Same charge that goes along with this. I'm going to read them out. Is said charge Stephen Lee also failed to neglect to remain at the scene of an off-duty incident and request the response of a patrol supervisor. Same along with that one is you did fail and neglect to render reasonable aid to injured person as request as an ambulance or doctor. The other one is...
That's not true. That part is not true. I turned around. His friend was standing there. I turned around. I was like, yo, you should call a bus for him, right? You want me to call an ambulance? He was like, I already did. And I was like, okay, you want to turn him to the side? He was like, nope, don't touch him. I said, okay, I'm not going to touch him.
All right. So there's a bunch of charges here with it. Let me just read through them, and then let's take it from the top. All right. So, and then again, the 4th charge related to this incident. So this is all one incident. You did fail and neglected to take police action when you came to know that there was an assault. So that's 4 charges. Now we're up to 5. Same incident. You knowingly associated with several individuals. Again, another criminal associations. 5 charges. Same incident. 6. That while on duty, conduct or discipline. Said sergeant attempted via third parties and subsequently personally contacted the complainant in an active criminal investigation involving him. That's 6. So you contacted the complainant. 7. You did impede a criminal investigation by requesting complainants and witnesses remove evidence and statements and identify photographs from the public. So 7 charges. So you just take it from the top and what happened and what do you see?
Okay, what's the first charge?
The first charge is that you were involved in the assault and that you neglected to. Seconds, you didn't remain at the scene. The third is that you didn't call a doctor. The 4th is that you criminally associated. The 5th.
Let's go one by one. The first one is I got into the altercation with them. Yeah. The guys grabbed my friend breasts and her ass 2 different times, 30 minutes apart. First grabbed her ass. We told the bouncer. Bouncer went up and talked to the kid. The kid said, oh, sorry, my bad. I thought she was somebody else. Okay, we give him benefit of the doubt. Now you see me on camera sitting there the whole time, not drinking, not anything like that, just watching them, making sure they're not grabbing any other girls from the table, right? Second time, 30 minutes later, turns around, grabs a breast. They get into a physical altercation. I separate them. I say, go over there. Let me tell the bouncer. I tell the security officer again. Security goes up to the kid and talks to him. He turns his back on the security officer and goes, yeah, I'm not going nowhere. Fine. I turn back around. I tell the boyfriend, right, that, his girl got grabbed. She's upset. She's next to me. She grabs the kid by the shoulder or whatever on the camera. You can see all this on camera. Grab the kid on the shoulder. They're going back and forth. I turn back around. I'm like, oh, shit. I thought he was grabbing her again. I pushed him away, and I do 2 punches and land the back of the head. No injuries. Fight got broken up right away. All got kicked out. We get kicked out. The kid is getting kicked out to the corner. The boyfriend now is walking in front of me. He's storming out. I'm like, yo, where you going? He's like, I'm going to ask him why he did that. He's the one that broke up the fight inside. So I didn't think he was going to hit him again outside. Fine. He's going up. He's screaming to the kid, yo, why'd you do that? Why'd you touch my girl? The kid smirks and goes, whatever. He walks up to him. Boom. Knocks him out. Right? Starts punching him. He passed by 3 other bouncers. I passed by 3 other bouncers. Nobody knew he was going to do this. I woke up. I'm like, oh, shit, chill. He's unconscious. Stop. We walk away. That's it. Did I hit him outside? No. We walk away. His friends now try to come and jump us. Complaining 2 and 3. Try to come and jump us. Security is holding them back. We're not stopping them from rendering aid. Because that was one of the charges that for me acting in concert with them is that I was stopping them from rendering aid to their friend on the floor. No. I was not stopping them. The bouncers were stopping them. They were trying to fight us. They wasn't trying to render aid. They were trying to fight us the whole time. The female tries to grab the guy who just knocked the kid out. I'm like, yo, chill, get back. I push her back. She stumbles back. She comes back in, grabs the female, our female now. I was like, chill, get back. I separate the 2. To me, that was taking police action. It was separating the 2 parties. The security guards are one that's supposed to call 911 and stuff like that. Am I supposed to call 911? Yeah, sure. In hindsight, yeah, I should have called 911. But when I turned around to the kid's friend, I go, yo, did you call a bus, whatever? He's like, yeah, I called an ambulance, whatever. I was like, is he okay? Should we move him to the side? He's like, no, don't touch him. Fine. Okay. That's it. I walked away from him. We're talking to the female now. They're female. We explained to them what happened. Look, you wouldn't like this. Somebody grabbed you in the club or whatever. Fine. Then we get my boyfriend. Her boyfriend now, complaint number 2, is now across the street. We walk with her across the street. You see us on camera walking with her across the street. We're no longer conflicting. We walk with her across the street. She's trying to stop her boyfriend. She's like, chill. Let's go. Let's get out of here. Whatever, blah, blah. So to me, it was squashed. Right? There's no complainants. She's like, chill. Let's get out of here. Whatever. He pushes her. So some other guy jumps on him like, yo, what the hell are you putting your hands on a girl for? Starts fighting with him. I'm like, what the fuck? So I turn around, I walk away. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. I turn around, I'm walking away. Then all of a sudden, I see complaining number 2 on top of complaining number 3, his own girlfriend, ground pounding her in the middle of the fucking street. We turn around, we're like, what the fuck are you doing, stupid? That's your own people. And on top of that, that's a fucking girl. Why are you hitting a fucking girl, right? So somebody pushes him off of her. Somebody else. I walk up to him. He's stumbling towards the sidewalk. He's swinging in the air. I'm like, this kid is high or something. He has no idea what the fuck is going on. I walk up to him. I'm like, yo, get the fuck out of here. You're hitting girls now, right? He comes towards me. I check him. I put my hand out to his chest. He stumbles. He overreacts. He falls to the floor, and he turtles up. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You were a tough guy beating a fucking girl in the middle of the street. Now all of a sudden you're turtled up on the floor like somebody's stomping on you. Get the fuck up. Stop being a fucking coward. Get the fuck up, right? He's flocking his head like this. I tap him with my foot over here. I'm like, yo, get up. They said that's assault 3. The girlfriend comes up and goes, chill. No, that's my boyfriend. It's okay. It's okay. We asked her, are you sure you're okay? Because he was beating the shit out of you. And she was like, no, it's okay. He usually doesn't put his hands on me. It's okay. I was like, are you sure? You don't want to report it? Whatever. She was like, no, I'm good. It's okay. Let's get out of here. Let's go home. Okay, fine. Go. And that was that. No complainants. So I left. I asked my girl, my female friend, I asked her, what do you want to do? She goes, I just want to leave. Just take me and my friends, please. Let's get out of here. I turned to the boyfriend. I'm like, yo, are you coming? He's like, I left something inside. I'm going to go back inside. I'll meet you there. Okay, fine. So I turn around. I grabbed her. To me, she was complaining because the initial incident happened over her. So she left. I bring her to a different location. I drop her off, and that was the end of that. Next day, they put on social media, unprovoked attack. My friend got attacked in the club, blah, blah, blah. This guy in the gray shirt, which was me, was the one that pounded him and beat him up and beat me up and beat my girlfriend up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? I didn't touch any of y'all motherfuckers, right? I didn't hit him. It was the boyfriend that knocked him out. So I texted him. I was like, yo, first of all, the female got her injuries from you, right? So if you're going to put up, you know, the incident, whatever, put up the truth, or please take it down. And he decided to take it down the next day.
You know, Steve, so let's look at this from two perspectives, right? So one perspective, I think this is pretty much a bar fight, right? Nobody got killed. Nobody got stabbed. It's a silly, stupid bar fight. It is kind of kid stuff. But do I think you deserve getting time in jail? Absolutely not. I've arrested some of the most vile perpetrators in New York City that were wanted for shootings, and they also had misdemeanor assaults, and they got arrested with a firearm. But the actual assault, they didn't even get a month for that actual assault. Usually the time that they spent that one day in jail was time served. So that's where I think it's complete hypocrisy. I think it's ridiculous. But I think what a lot of people are going to look at this is from the cop standpoint and say, because most of our listeners right now, especially, this is an exciting episode to hear from you. They're cops or retired cops, and they're putting themselves in your position, and they're saying to themselves, well, I was a cop, and I know I was a cop, and John was a cop, and if I saw a situation, I know many times I went out to bars or restaurants. I had an old girlfriend that had
Eric, before you even say anything, yes, 1,000%. I should have remained on the scene and called 911. From hindsight, yeah, I should have done that. That's why I pled guilty to it.
But even before that, right? We're all cops, and we see. Well, my point is, I used to hang out at bars and restaurants in the Bronx. I had an old girlfriend. She had a restaurant in the Bronx. It was a bar, and but if I saw something that didn't look right, and all my friends knew, she knew, like, listen, I'm leaving. I'm out. If I see something that doesn't look right, I could see it before it's happening. Not something I want to be involved in. There were restaurants and bars that I knew I could go to, right? But I wouldn't go because I know they had situations. They're like, I'm not going. I'm going to avoid that problem. I got to protect. I got a pension to protect. I got an image to protect, and that's my point. And I think that's where people are see it. That do you think that at some point could you have said to yourself, you know what, guys, we got to go. It's wrong that they grabbed the girl, but at some point could you say, like, hey, listen, it's time for us to go. I got to get out of here.
Yeah. Well, she was ready to go. I haven't seen them in a year and a half, right? Since COVID and stuff. So I was like, you know what, they're just hanging around and, have a shot with them, whatever, and catch up. It happened within that time. Like it was a matter of minutes of me being there. So for me to be like, oh, after this incident happened, and then just be like, oh, I'm out of here. I'm not going to betray my friends like that. No, I'm going to try to keep them safe. That's the whole thing with me, because all this is also after me doing the whole Stop Asian Hate thing, the tax on Asians and stuff like that. Yeah, it was Asian on Asian crime, but still, it was like, yo, what are we doing here? I'm protecting a female from getting freaking sexually assaulted. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I'm just going to abandon her and just leave her there? No, I did whatever I felt was right. Like at that time, should I stay at the scene and report code on one? Yeah. In hindsight, yes. Yes. Absolutely. But
so
was
listen,
I thinking that? No.
This is the first charge. Well, other than divulging the thing, other than divulging where Group 52 is, even though everyone knows where it is. But I agree with Ron Layson. He says even if one more person found out, it's still wrong. It's wrong regardless. I agree. Shouldn't have been done on the Lucky Boys. I have no problem with you going on the Lucky Boys podcast. But I think, listen, you got in a bar fight. And I'll tell you right now, I know 20 cops that have been involved in bar fights. I've been to bars myself and almost gotten into fights. And should I have remained on scene and called 911? Maybe, I guess. I mean, everybody who's ever been to a club out at night has been involved in things or seen things that they should have reported and failed to. So a lot of the charges around here are just duplicated, but you being involved in it is wrong. Of the 15 to possibly a lot more people that I know that were involved in bar fights and got jammed up, they got jammed up and they went on with their careers and they retired. So I think it was wrong. I think the part that concerns me more than the actual fight, because thankfully nobody was hurt. and the things were around is when is the charge, because basically everything's the same. You didn't request an ambulance, you didn't call a thing until we get to the point where you're contacting the people and telling them to take it down. Like that, I have a problem with. Like, why'd you do that as a New York City police officer? You have to know that that's wrong at that point.
Because they were gaslighting me. They were gaslighting me, saying that I was the one that did that. And at that time, I wasn't even under arrest. At that time, it was the next day. I didn't even know they did a police report. So I'm like, yo, if you're gonna put up the incident, put up the full incident. Don't fucking lie about it. If you're gonna lie about it, then take it down, right? And the guy took it down.
Did they know, Steven? Did they know that you were on the job? These people involved in complaints, when you spoke to them, did they know?
No.
I mean, so at that point, I mean, a lot of this stuff, like you said, John was right. It's kind of Mickey Mouse. Like I said, it's a silly bar fight, kind of kid stuff. There were a lot of cops. John's right. I knew plenty of cops that were involved in bar fights. I'm not saying he's right, but they did go on with their careers. They didn't get time in jail like you got. That was absolutely ridiculous. But
so here's the thing, right? The guy who actually knocked the kid out. Listen, nobody else. First of all, they charged me with gang assault, right, and acting in concert. The people that charged me acting in concert with, and other people that were in the gang assault or whatever, nobody else got arrested. Nobody else was arrested, right? The kid who actually knocked the kid out and assaulted him, right? The people that they said I didn't stop from doing such a horrific act that he almost killed the kid, right? He didn't get arrested. He turned himself in a year later. And then when he turned himself in a year later and he pled guilty to the felony charges, because he was like, look, I don't want you to get in trouble for it. It was all me, right? I'm going to plead guilty to it. He pled guilty. He's like, look, you see on camera, on the video, it was all me. He didn't do anything. He was just standing there. He didn't do anything else, right? He got no jail time. He got a repleader, stay out of trouble for a year, come back, he gets repleted down, and after that, 3-year probation. They didn't even care about him. They didn't even go out and get him. He had to turn himself in.
That's why I think it's so egregious that you actually spent time in jail. I'm telling you, I arrested shooters, 2-time, 3-time shooters that also had misdemeanor assault. They were involved in some fist fight in the street. And, of course, we arrest them for that too. And they got nothing. So,
and,
like I said,
those same shooters that are in jail said the same thing. You shouldn't be here.
I'm sure they did. I'm not excusing your behavior. And it looks to me as they're kind of saying you were there and a fight happened. Now you're supposed to be a cop and you were supposed to intervene and check on people's well-being.
I did.
But no, you were involved in a bar fight. That's a little ridiculous. I think it's not the crime of the century. I think you should have saw that I got to be honest. I think you should have saw there's a problem. Like, listen, I got to go. I got to get out of here. I got to protect myself. But you didn't. You're involved in a bar fight. Not the worst thing in the world. Like John said, John's right. There's plenty of people that have been in altercations. They went on with their career. But you didn't. You actually got jail time, which I think is a little crazy. But let's go on with the charges, John.
All right. And then the last charge on here is said Sergeant Stephen Lee, while assigned to IAB on or about December 28, 2017 in Queens County, did fail and neglect to appear for a department interview.
Yeah, it was a GO. And the GO, I was told by my lieutenant, my direct supervisor, that it was canceled. He was like, yo, Steve, we're going to do a double tonight. This is when I was in Group 52. Like, Steve, we're going to do a double tonight. You're going to do a double with us? His name is Lieutenant Dept. He was on the captain list at the time, right? I'm like, oh, Lou, I got a GO tomorrow. I can't do it. Can't do a double tonight. It's like, are you sure? He's like, yo, I heard it was canceled. I was like, was it canceled for you or was it canceled for me? Because, we both get in GO. He goes, it was canceled for both of us. And I'm like, are you sure? He was like, yeah. He's like, all right, if that's the case, then yeah, I'll do the double tonight. And then he changed my tour and we did a double. Next day, they called me up. All right. And I did call my delegate, and my delegate went to go check, call Group 1 to check. Right. They never got back to him. I also called my lawyer at the time, right? Because my lawyer was supposed to be there, and my lawyer called them, and they never got back to him neither. Okay. So then the next day, they call back. They go, hey, where you at? I'm like, I'm at home. Like, why are you home? You should be here. You got a GO. I was like, I was told it was canceled by my lieutenant. Oh, okay, we need a name. Lieutenant Dept. They call back. His delegate calls back. Lieutenant Donovan calls back and goes, "Hey, why are you not here?" I said, "Lieutenant Dept told me it was canceled. He made me do a double last night." Okay, cool. He calls him back. He goes, "Look, he's not saying that anymore." I go, "What?" I'm like, if that's the case, why he changed my tour and let me do a double? He knew I had a GO, right? He's like, "I don't know, but he's saying that he didn't tell you it was canceled." And it went from there.
So, I mean, they dropped 4 investigations on you right after you get out of your undercover work. The bar fight was ridiculous, but you wind up getting charged for attempted misdemeanor assault, where you get 6 months in jail. So, like I said, I never knew anyone to
9
be
months.
fired.
9 months. So it was 6 months for the assault 3 and 3 months for the attempted assault 3. First of all, fucking attempted assault 3 is harassment. Have you ever arrested anybody for attempted assault 3? No, it's either you assault somebody or you don't, right? So, it's 3 months and the 6 months and run concurrent, and it's 6 months, and then I was remanded right there on the spot. I didn't even get a choice to turn myself in like a later date. It was barely take them away, put them back. So I was like, what the fuck? I had all my stuff on me. No, I didn't even know I was going to jail. I had all my stuff on me. My wife was thinking I was coming home still. She didn't know. I had to give it to my friend. My friend had to tell my wife. It was crazy. The court officers were even amazed. They were like, what the fuck? And I was talking to them in the back. I was like, what just fucking happened? And they're like, I don't know. And they all looked like shocked. And they were like, I have no idea what the fuck just happened. They were like, we're all just so fucking disappointed right now. Like, what the fuck is going on? And they're standing there in the back with me, like, just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Steven,
So
9
I
months
don't
is
know.
insane. That's insane. That is insane.
So, like I said, I don't know anyone that ever got fired for getting into a bar fight where nobody was seriously injured or killed. So I don't know anybody. And I think that's your main charge, other than the divulging of confidential information. And again, I think it could be taken out of context. And I don't think you actually gave – I listened to the podcast. You didn't give direct information. You gave kind of a roundabout. Wasn't like you were like, oh, it's right here.
It was by the Queensboro Bridge, some building. And if you go down there, you know how many buildings are down there right now? The whole place is all fucking buildings.
But then you get 9 months in jail for an assault 3 and an attempted assault 3, which again is harassment. You're 100% right. And I don't think, and everyone on here is like probably like, wow, I don't know anyone that's ever went to jail for assault 3. Neither do I, and neither do me and Eric, being cops. Both over, for a very long time, and you as well. Could you just tell us what happens to you when you're in jail? You did call me from jail, and you told me what the hell is going on.
Yeah, so I get transported to Rikers from the Tombs, right, from Manhattan. I get to Rikers. Immediately at West Facility, they check me straight in at West Facility. The COs there were like, oh, we know who you are. Don't worry. We're going to take care of you, whatever, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So, you're stripped naked. They give you your browns. Over there, they wear browns, not oranges. They give you your browns. You're stripped naked, whatever. You give you a T-shirt, boxers and, browns, whatever. They give you some fake flip-flops, shoes, whatever. And then I was put in isolation by myself. So it's like a hospital room. You have your own shower, your own, bed, your own toilet, your own TV, your own phone. But the phone line you share with everybody else on the block. So you have to tell the CO to turn on your phone and stuff like that. But I was getting really bad vibes from everybody. So one of the captains, the correction captains, which is like our rank of sergeant, was walking with me and talking to me and asked me, yo, what happened? And I've told him, I'm here for fucking misdemeanor. Like, I'm here for, a bar fight. She's like, what? Because at first I said I was here for a misdemeanor for assault 3. She's like, yeah, for beating a kid or something like that, for a minor, right? I was like, what? They're like, yeah, like for beating a kid or something. I was like, no, it was a fucking bar fight. What are you talking about? Right? I was like, I'm here for a fucking bar fight. This is what happened, blah, blah, blah. I told them the story, and they're like, oh, what the fuck? She's like, yo, I'm glad I talked to you and got the story straight from you. Okay, cool. I'm calling my friends up now, right? So what ended up happening was I end up remembering my wife's number. It was the only number I remembered. She gave me all the numbers for my phone and everything, stuff like that. Oh, and for this incident, for the assault 3, they took my fucking phone as arrest evidence. I don't know why. That's how they got all the other stuff. That's how they got all the other stuff. And they wanted to see what kind of evidence I had on them, because I had different recordings. I had recordings from the Department Advocate's office where the Department Advocate admits to saying that they only get what IB gives them, and they understand there's white shirt immunity and stuff like that, and certain people get away with certain stuff and all this other stuff. This is the Department Advocate lawyer admitting this. I have other recordings of Lieutenant Sung when I was undercover talking about who we could trust, who we can't trust, who's a rat, who's not. I had, recordings of the Seeger thing and stuff like that. So I had recordings on there. So I guess they wanted to see what evidence I had on them. But whatever the case is, one of my friends told me, yo, what the fuck is going on? Like I looked on the website, and on the website they had you down for like beating a kid or something like that. I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, one of the charges the court put on there was caregiver abuser. And when I asked them, they said, oh, that's for beating a kid or something like that. And that wasn't even one of my charges. So it was like they tried to fucking send me to Rikers, put me on fucking same blocks as killers, and even Officer Diller's killer. The person who shot Officer Diller was on my block. You try to put me on there, well, over there, and you put me down as a child abuser.
Steve, this chat, I'm watching it all day, right? But I just don't want you to think I'm not looking at you. I've been looking at this chat. And there's so many people here. Some people like really supporting you behind you. Some people, I mean, they've really been digging in and they don't like you. Let's be honest, right? But I don't care what anybody says at this point. They have to look at this and say, okay, Stephen Lee was put in this situation. Did he make some mistakes? Yes, not the crime of the century. Should he get into a bar fight as a cop? No, it's not the worst thing in the world. But the fact that you received this significant amount of jail time, to me, is just insane. It's so absurd. And the ends don't justify the means. So I'm saying to the people right here, the people that do not support you, that don't like you, you can't say that that's right, that he received this amount of time in jail because you don't like him. It's absolutely ridiculous. We got cops getting assaulted at a higher rate that we've never seen before, this phenomenon. And people that punch cops in the face, what jail time do they get? I guarantee that they're not getting 9 months. I guarantee that they're not getting over a year, and that's a felony assault. So if anybody here that's active on the job right now, if you could tell me someone that assaulted a cop recently that got nine months, I would be surprised. This is just absurd that this happened to you, Stephen. The ends do not justify the means. It's clear to me that there was input by the police department. It's obvious for you to receive this type of sentence. It just doesn't make any sense. And that there was some type of there was words input to have you in this position. And I believe it because John's name was given to Jimmy Rodriguez, who associates a Consafritos with Ed Caban. And Jimmy Rodriguez had no idea who John McCary is, and all cops are to get my phone number, and it was given by the police department. So clearly what happened to you is ridiculous. The ends do not justify the means. Yeah. And I hear the emotion coming from you, the anger, and you have every right to be angry. Every right, because the ends do not justify the means at all. Because you made some silly mistakes doesn't make it right for you to sit in jail this long. Even most of the charges we talked about are not anything that will lead to termination for anyone else. But you definitely were targeted.
So the punishment I got from all this was my 18-year career. They didn't give me no option to vest or anything like that. They straight terminated me. Even the department judge, the second day, the department judge was like, to the department advocate office, he was telling them, look, maybe you should go back to your supervisor and get a non-termination disciplinary action. And he was like, nope, my supervisors want termination. And the judge asked again. And he's like, nope, my supervisors want termination. So I was like, damn, what the fuck is going on, right? So whatever the case is, I got terminated, lost my 18-year pension. And then on top of that, this kid is suing me, right? He's not even suing the guy that beat him up. The guy that beat him up got away with it because it's past a year, and his name was put down in the lawsuit originally as John Doe. So it's past a year, and they couldn't add his name onto the lawsuit. So he's not even getting sued for this thing, but I'm getting sued, and so is the club and all that stuff, right? Obviously, he's going after the club because that's where they had the money, right? But I still have to hire a lawyer for that and everything. So I had to hire a lawyer for that. I had to hire a lawyer for my criminal defense. And then I ran out of money for that, and I had to end up with a 18B lawyer, with a free lawyer, right? I had to hire money for the civil lawsuits against the NYPD. And then at that time, they got dismissed based on statute of limitations, and we were going to appeal, saying that it's a continuous event, and I couldn't put in that appeal because I didn't have no money. So my choices were either pay for the criminal attorney or pay for my civil stuff. So I was like, you know what, the civil stuff could wait. My criminal stuff, it takes priority. I got to pay for a criminal attorney, right? All this stuff I got to pay for. My line of duty injury, I got to pay for an Article 78 attorney. You know what I mean? Like, well, I have no more money, man. All the money goes to lawyer, and they're like, oh, look, you didn't appeal this, you didn't appeal that. Yeah, jerk off. I don't have no fucking money. You're going to give me the money for it? I'll appeal it. You know what I mean? Like, lawyers don't work for free.
Steve,
they all want money.
I want to address a comment here because it was posed a couple times, but we didn't get a chance to get to it. It comes from Joan Ranger, who's been pretty much in opposition to your story. He says, Eric, have you ever had a perp that was a person of interest for a shooting, and you brought him in for jaywalking, no ID, or something absurd? That's what happened here to Stephen Lee. I think that's comparing. I'm going to push back and say that's apples and oranges. First of all, I never grabbed anybody on jaywalking. I wasn't about that. I did grab people with marijuana if they were part of an investigation for the purposes for the squad to maybe get some information for a case. But that was when marijuana was illegal. And I'm not against marijuana, but it was a tool. It was a pretextual stop, a legal justification for that investigation. But I think this is totally different. What's going on with Stephen is not just an investigation. They're actually throwing stuff at him to stick, and they're throwing anything to try to have him terminated by using the ends to justify the means. I think it's completely different. If you have any other comments on it, I appreciate it. But that's John. What do you think about that? I think that's completely apples and oranges.
It doesn't even make sense. It's not even a comparison at all. It's not a comparison at all. I have no problem with you bringing someone in for jaywalking that's wanted on a shooting at all. But ultimately, they will be charged with the shooting, correct? You're bringing in the person in for jaywalking and then sending them to jail for jaywalking. It's completely apples and oranges. I don't see that. Yes, Juju, this is live. I think the comment's ridiculous. Steve, I just want to go back one more time. You said that you were sent to jail. On your jail, when they sent you to Rikers, they said that you were a child abuser. It didn't even have your correct charges on there. And that you were put next to Officer Jonathan Diller's killer.
Yeah. It was Officer Jonas Diller, killer, on my left. Next to him was another drug deal gone bad that also ended up in a homicide. Right next to him was another guy that was in the Bronx that decapitated the head of the Bloods or stuff like that, like killer, the grandfather of the Bloods or stuff like that. On my right though was all like gangbangers. And then they moved me, and the next block I went up to was Harvey Weinstein and whatchamacallit, Trump's accountant. But that room, there was raw sewage coming out of the floor and stuff like that. And I complained for like a day, and they moved me again. And then they moved me to a block of like just young gangbangers. And even then, they were like, you got fucked. Even these young gangbangers, they're like straight up perps. Eric, these like straight up perps that people that you probably arrest all the time. They're in cars with guns and stuff like that. They're running around with guns and stuff. They admit to having guns and stuff. They admit to being gangbangers and stuff. And they were like, "Damn, man, you got fucked," And
Steven, did you think?
I guess they expected me to get fucked up by them, but
that's
what I'm saying. Like,
do you think that you were being set up? That they were trying to someone was
trying
to sabotage you? Do you think
absolutely.
that they were trying to put you in danger? You do.
Who do you think? Who do you think it was that had your charges put on wrong and put you next to murderers?
I think it was NYPD pushed somebody in the courthouse, because even the judge, I think he had to do it. I don't think that he had a choice. I think the judge was pushed by the DA's office, right? Because the same judge, the same day, the same judge signed a certificate from the parole office, right? A a certificate of the disability or something like that, which is a certificate saying even though this person got arrested on these charges, don't hold it against him. He's still a good person, whatever. Like if I go to a job interview or something like that, they run my name, they say, oh, you've been arrested and you've been sent to jail for this. The letter says, oh, don't hold this against him. He's still a good person, whatever, stuff like that, that you can't get fired for this, or you can't get your rights can't be violated because of this arrest and stuff like that. Like if I go apply for a pistol license or whatever, that you can't hold this against me and stuff like that. So he gave me that letter. It's like a good guy letter. So he gave me that letter the same day. He signed that letter the same day. So I'm like, why the fuck will you sign that letter and then you send me to fucking Rikers for 6 months? And then on top of that, you're talking about how before you sentence me, you talk about how this has nothing to do with the Chinese Exclusion Act. This has nothing to do with you being Asian or anti-Asian hate. This has nothing to do with the system retaliating against you or NYPD retaliating against you. You told the probation office that you claim you're still innocent and you plan on appealing this. You show no remorse. I'm sentencing you to 6 months for this and 3 months for this. Take them away.
Did the other inmates know that you're a cop?
Yeah, I told them.
You told them?
Yeah, I told them.
Why would you tell them?
I told them exactly what happened. I'm like, yeah, I'm a fucking cop. I've been here fucking, because you're like, why are you in PC? I'm like, because I'm a fucking cop. And I'm like, this is what happened. Blah, 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 blah. I told them the whole story of being whistleblower and stuff like that. They're like, damn, you got fucked. Damn. And then they spread the word with the other inmates. And they were all like, yo, listen to this dude's story, blah, blah. And then they saw me in the paper, too. So they knew the story.
Dan Romania says, Alvin Bragg hates the NYPD. He wouldn't do anything for them. Steve, you are reaching here, bro. I'm going to push back on that statement
You're
right
crazy.
away.
You're crazy.
I'm going to push back on that statement right away. Alvin Bragg hates the rank and file of the NYPD. However, he is a vital partner when it comes to Tariq Shepard, Ed Caban, New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who said that his stance and public safety are one and the same. Yeah, absolutely, Eric. Yeah. The little heart symbol when they were together. Alvin Bragg does not. Oh, there's the hearts. Look, hearts. It does not just let's do it again.
It came up on the
So, but he absolutely does not hate because he's a partner. He is their partner. So no, absolutely. If the upper echelon of the NYPD told Alvin Bragg to do something, he would absolutely do it. I agree with that.
The DA, listen, the DA's office works hand in hand with the DA's office works hand in hand with the NYPD. I don't care how much they play this political game back and forth in public eye, whatever. When you work at Brooklyn Central Booking, which I did, I worked in the Bronx, I worked in Brooklyn. I seen people get DP'd, right? And then I'll catch a signed affidavit after that. And I'm like, whoa, I'm about to release this guy. What's going on? Is he DP'd or is he being prosecuted? They'll go, oh, we were going to DP him, but then your boss called, right, and said this guy's a bad guy, so I re-signed it to somebody else, and they're gonna prosecute him. It happens all the fucking time. They're not in opposition. They have to work hand in hand because they're part of the same system. They are arms and legs of the same body. They have to work together. They're part of the same system. Alvin Bragg may hate the police because that's what his constituents want, a person who hates police, right? And wants to hold police accountable. But he's going to do what they say because his people need to work hand in hand with the cops. And they need people like that. Otherwise, how are they going to catch criminals? The cops don't work with the DA's office. How are they going to work together? They're going to be like, fuck you, I'm not testifying. Do it on your own. Like, come on. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So,
and Croita says exactly. Bragg would have already brought assault 2 charges against the tan pants lieutenant if he hated the whole NYPD. 100%. There was a call made there too. 100%. Croita, you're dead on.
Yeah, I gotta say, Croita is spot on. We've seen a different standard of justice. Listen, we see Tariq Shepard buttoning up to Alvin Bragg. We've seen Alvin Bragg take many photos with the upper echelon of the police department. We say it all the time. It's a 3-tiered system. General population, that's who you are, Stephen Lee. You were part of general population. Khaki Pants has their own amenities. And then we have the upper echelon of the police department. It's a 3-tiered system, and you were part of general population. Yeah. That lieutenant in the Khaki Pants, he stomped on that guy's head. Now, I don't shy away from it. I tell you, I've deployed strikes many times to perpetrators. I've punched perpetrators in the face. I did what I had to do, getting illegal firearms. but I've never stomped someone on their head. That's absolutely insane. That is never necessary. Absolutely. If you have to stomp someone in their head, you already have them in custody. That was ridiculous. But we see a complete different standard. I believe your story. Absolutely, Stephen. I believe that there was information injected into the system at corrections, and I think they were trying to set you up. Absolutely. I know it because John and I were attacked by an unhinged cop who was threatening the lives of our kids. And Internal Affairs has not done anything. You know what they told John and myself? We can't release the information to you because we are worried about potential retaliation from us. Not worried that he's going to try to blow the back of our brains out, but potential retaliation. You're absolutely right, brother.
That's great. But they try to keep me on Rikers too. They try to keep me on Rikers the whole time until I spoke to the reporter, and the reporter put it in the post. And then, they all of a sudden somebody else sees it, and they're like, "Oh shit, what the fuck is he doing there?" They came from the court and then went to Albany, and Albany sent the order down to Rikers, and they came and got me 2:00 in the morning. They're like, "Pack your shit, you're leaving." I'm like, "Where am I going?" They're like, "You're going to Westchester." I'm like, "Why am I going to Westchester?" It's like, "I don't know. It came down fucking Albany. Pack your shit, let's go." And I'm like, "What the fuck you all pissed off for? What the fuck did I do?" So I packed up all my stuff and I got moved to Westchester. And even there, they were trying to like fuck with you. They're like, the people giving dirty looks and stuff until I told my story, and then they're like, "Oh shit," and then that charge got corrected. So,
Stephen, do you think in your trial that I just want to ask this one thing? Sorry, John. Do you think in your trial that it would have helped maybe if you would have asked to change the venue? Maybe have it in Staten Island or another borough because you're a cop.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think in the Bronx, I think in the Bronx it probably would have got dismissed, DP'd. I think in Brooklyn probably would have got DP'd. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There are some DAs that are more cop friendly. Yeah, but thing is, with Bragg, one, it's a win-win, right? Because one, he wins favor from NYPD, right? Top brass, because he's doing them a favor, right? So he gets a favor back. Two, he's prosecuting cop, and he gets to fucking throw the book at him and look like a hero amongst his constituents. So it's a win-win for him.
Yep. So listen, bro, we appreciate you spending a lot of time with us today. We're going on 3 hours. We walked through all the charges. I mean, I don't want to hear about your interview again because I think it was a fair interview. I would love if you at some point, in the future, you come back on, tell us some of your other stories while you were undercover, because we really skimmed over that whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna tell you again that you should be writing a book. John,
how do I write a book?
I'll send you a pen and paper. Just start writing it down. I told you, just start writing shit down. That's it. Just throw it on there. You know how the NYPD threw shit on the wall? Just throw shit on the paper, and that's it. Like, just throw shit on the paper, and eventually some of it's gonna stick. You put it together, you make it make sense. But anything you want to say before we start to wrap this up?
No. Even to all my haters, look, I wouldn't wish this upon my worst enemy. I'm telling you, it's not just taxing. Look, if it was just taxing tone on me, I wouldn't have gone suicidal and stuff like that. I wouldn't have mine. But it's just taxing tone, not just you, but your friends and family around you. People avoid you. Some people avoid you just to not get retaliated against by the police force. Like people when I was working and stuff like that, they were cool with me, but they couldn't come out. They couldn't come out and be like openly friendly or whatever because they knew they would get retaliated, they're targeted, stuff like that. And it doesn't just affect you, it affects everybody around you. And then that affects you even more. Like that affects me even more, knowing that my family, my friends are getting, hurt because of this. So sometimes, that pushes me to suicide, where it's like, maybe the world's better off with me not in it, because then they wouldn't be targeted anymore if I'm gone. So
Steve, I actually because I'm a veteran, 22 veterans commit suicide a day, and I saw what was going on with police officers, and I had received 8 charges in a 6-week period, and knowing that I could fight through this, I volunteered my time, and I went to a couple seminars with Papa. So if anybody that's on this that doesn't know what PAPA is, it's a private organization, police organization that helps, cops in need of suicide, and I learned, how to help people when it comes to that. So hopefully moving forward, you can be that person also. I'm sorry that you had to endure this mental health, and I wish you well.
Yeah.
It's a serious thing. I wish you well. Do not hurt yourself. Do not kill yourself. This is just a moment in life. This is just a segment to move on. And I'll say this, brother, I will tell you, no matter what, you are courageous. You are brave to tell this story. And that's why people think, oh, these are kind of tough, it's tough questions. It's tough to answer about you being disciplined, about these experiences in the police department, because it's stuff that doesn't really put you in a positive light. Some puts you in a negative light. But I think you're brave for answering the questions. I appreciate it, brother. And I think what happened to you, the amount of time that you served for this bar fight is insane. It really is absurd. I want to see that people that are charged with assaulting a police officer get the amount of time that you had, or even more. It's just complete hypocrisy. I'm really sorry what happened to you. You're a brave brother. I'll stay in touch. I don't care what people would think. I'll befriend you. I have no problem with it. So thank you. I honestly, Steve, I really, you got my support. I'll find you a lady boy if you want.
We'll find one together.
Thank you,
shout out to Tom Joyce. Tom Joyce donated $20 to the channel. Tom, thank you. Thank you for your donations as always. We appreciate you guys always. AJ asked if we could ever get Detective Mike Moy on. I did speak to Mike Moy a while back. He was supposed to come on. We just never got it together. We were both traveling. We will make that connection again. Mike Moy runs Asian Chinatown Gang Stories, or
Chinatown Gang Stories. Yeah, I know him too.
Chinatown Gang Stories. It's a great channel. You guys should check it out if you're into any gang stories. From Chinatown, they talk about Asian street gangs. But yeah, dude, I appreciate you coming on. And obviously, there's nothing you should kill yourself over, bro, because your story matters. What you need to do is put it down on paper, and I'm telling you, you'll be a bestseller. You'll be a bestseller. Like your story. I was telling Eric, I think I said it before you came on. I don't know if it was on or offline, but I said, if you take any cop in New York City and you tell them to write a story about their career, why they became a cop and the things that happened to them, and then what happened to them, why they're no longer a cop or whatever it is. If you take any one of them and they just told what happened to them during their career and their life, it's going to get filed in the fiction section. Dude, your book's going to be about this big, and it's going to go right into the fiction section because it's a crazy story, bro, and people need to hear it. And and the thing that happens is, like, you expose the corruption, and the corruption still persists today. And we're seeing it not just in the 109 and not just amongst the Asian community, but all over, right? It's happening.
Even Cabana's doing it. You see Cabana doing it right now. Yeah,
exactly.
Same thing.
And it's going on everywhere. It's been happening mainstream under the Eric Adams administration. So you're very important in this time. Your voice is very important this time. Screw the haters. That's how you know you're over the target, bro. And
the crazy thing is they know the same people that arrested Cabana and them. They know the same people.
They're hanging out with them, taking photos with them. Of course they do.
Steve, I believe turning something bad into something good. There has to be some value that comes out of this, right? That's what John's talking about, putting pen to paper, write a book so people hear about your experiences. But turning something bad into something good. So from your experience and what you see now, going forward, if you were in charge of the police department, how would the system look like? How does someone report corruption to protect themselves? And can internal affairs still be an internal part of the police department, or should it be outsourced?
Absolutely not. Internal affairs will turn into inspections or something, and then you will have a federal agency that's led by the public for you to report things to. It has to be separate from the department. There's no way that it could be within the department, because it's going to be leaked out. It's conflict of interest. You're going to need law enforcement to investigate law enforcement. Yeah, sure. You need somebody with law enforcement, experience. Somebody who's been out in the street and worked the streets and know the nature and the beasts of it. But they can't be part of the police department. You got to separate them. They can't be NYPD. They can't answer to the same bosses. They can't answer to the mayor. You need something higher up. You can't because the mayor's going to squash it down anyway. Ultimately, goes back to the mayor. They're not going to want a big corruption scandal coming out under their reign. Me as mayor, like I would love to be the one to uncover corruption and stuff and be the one to fix it, but other mayors, they don't want that, seen in negative light. So,
well, they're all trying to get reelected. I mean, and even I was watching something the other day, and they were talking about corruption under Giuliani, and it was different. It wasn't people getting shooken down, but it was the fact that the mayor's office to combat police corruption. So again, an appointee of the mayor, they uncovered that, you guys are all going to be shocked by this, but they uncovered that the NYPD was not properly reporting crime numbers. So
no way.
So
that doesn't happen.
Can't believe it. I know you people are shocked. I know everyone's shocked, but they were saying that crime is down. And they weren't properly reporting the crime numbers. So when the Office to Combat Police Corruption requested the 61s, which are the complaint reports and all of the data, the NYPD refused to turn it over. They then went to the mayor, and the mayor denied it. Said, you're not going to get it. So the head of the organization to combat police corruption ultimately resigned. He's like, well, if I can't do my job and I have no teeth, then I don't want to do this job anymore. And he left. So, I mean, there's always going to be forms of corruption in a big city. I'll much rather take that than having them cover up murder, sex trafficking, drug dealing, going after their opponents and acting as a criminal enterprise. Is it wrong downplaying crime? Absolutely it is, but there's always some type of politics involved. But I think that's just another reason why you shouldn't have this oversight of police be oversaw by someone that's accountable to the mayor. It should be they have full subpoena power or they don't, so I agree with you there. Cal Fire Rescue $1.99. He says, Juju, any lady boys? Fat Kaz must know some. Whoop, whoop.
Steve, brother, you're brave, man. Honestly, appreciate everything. You took a lot of time out with us. It takes a lot of guts to answer on charges, brother. People don't like answering one question about something that may put them in a negative light. But you went through your entire charge. It says a lot about you, brother. Keep moving forward. Turn something bad into something good. You could be someone that helps other cops out. I do think. Hope people get something out of this.
If anybody's in that darkness, that's thinking about suicide, whatever. Look, feel free to reach out. I'm down to talk to you. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you hate me or love me, whatever. I don't care. But if you're in that darkness, I'm there with you, man. I'm there with you.
Hey,
reach out.
Shout out to Stephen Lee. Check out Stephen Lee at the System Unfiltered. Steve, thank you so much, brother. And we wish you well. And I'm sure we'll see you more on this podcast. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
All right, guys, 1,030 people on here in the chat almost the entire time. We appreciate all of you. We'll be back tomorrow, 8:05 live. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.